Yeah.
Good morning.
It is. You know what it is? It's such a good morning. I don't even care if you play that clip 3 more times.
Good night.
No, not that one. That one's a little aggravating, but the other one's great. I'm so happy today.
Nope.
My you know what? I don't think my day can be ruined today.
Nope.
I don't think it's possible.
Burn it down! Burn it down!
You know, we had Adam Page in the roster today. How about that? So that's a wrestling reference to a thing that happened on TV last night that we're going to talk about later at 9:20 this morning when Lonzo walks us through Fight Club.
Oh, man, I was really over that.
Me too, XL. Me too. You know why? I mean, you do know why. Because if you're listening to the show, you're excited for the exact same reason. You're excited today because it's NFL Day all over the USA. Ladies and gentlemen, today's the day we have been waiting with the burning passion of 1,000 suns for this day to arrive. And it has week 1, day 1, game 1 of the NFL. And wouldn't you know it, Zoe came dressed appropriately with his big, what ring is that? Is that ring 1, 2, or 3?
I don't know. You lose count after a while.
Yeah, for sure. We all understand.
No, you don't.
No, I do not. I do not.
Only Patriots fans or Pittsburgh fans back in the day or San Francisco fans.
If you're a Steelers fan and you understand, you've been here a minute.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
True.
Respectfully,
I guess
of course.
Dallas fans.
They've been here a minute too. Been a long time since the Cowboys got there. Hi guys. That's all right. That's all right. Chiefs got a chance to three-peat, and the adventure begins this evening when the Kansas City Chiefs host the Baltimore Ravens in an AFC Championship game rematch from last year. Lamar Jackson, the reigning, defending, undisputed NFL MVP, travels to Arrowhead to take on Patrick Mahomes, the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl MVP in what I think, no, scratch that. What I know could very well be a rematch in the AFC Championship game.
You can't say
this
no
year.
and then could.
Well, I know that it could. We both know it could.
Well, yeah.
In fairness,
I mean, anything could.
anything could.
Well, no, the Patriots are not going to be in.
That is correct.
Sorry, but the Panthers not going to be in.
That is also correct.
There's a few things.
Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
No chance. What teams that? You know what? Let's do that today. We always talk about who we're picked. Let's talk about the teams that have no chance today. Let's talk about the teams that have no chance, but what this year should be spent doing.
No chance. That's what you got.
That's what you got. Yes, we do work as many wrestling references into every single freaking show that we can. Of course we do.
Banger after banger.
Because that's all we do.
Other shows do it, and then they pretend like they don't like wrestling.
What's up, man?
You know what I like about that clip? We're the only ones that have it. We're the only ones that have that because he said it to us, you know? Speaking of, I did get the setup email earlier because October 11th, Friday Night SmackDown, coming right back down here to Greenville, South Carolina. And I got the email yesterday, no names, but saying, are you guys interested in having somebody in studio? No specific somebody, but are you guys interested in having somebody from SmackDown in the studio on that Thursday or Friday to promote the show?
See, here's the thing. We may not enjoy getting up so early sometimes, but one thing.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
One thing that we get out of it is all the wrestlers come through on mornings.
Hell yeah!
And we get those.
My loins have been tingling.
And they like staying over here more.
They
than
do.
They
do.
Places.
I have been told by 2 so far that they enjoy. The last 2 we've had did like over 30 minutes with us because they were like, oh, this is great. I like this. So we'll get there.
Because when they're here, we're not the coolest people in the room. They are.
I mean, let's not go crazy.
All right.
All right. I mean, let's be real. If you put me and Damian Priest in front of a room full of women, I'd be in the competition, man. You know,
Wow.
like me and that guy next to each other, I'd be in the competition.
Lose a little weight, and then suddenly you believe you're okay. Fine.
He's a big ass boy, is what he is. God dang.
Hey, we got football to talk about today, NFL and college, and I want to get to a lot of it. We're going to talk a little bit about a friend of the show, Shane Beamer, today. And much as I did yesterday defending Dabo Sweeney from what I think were some, let's say, tired attacks on Dabo, not unjustified, just tired, Shane was taken to task for something that he had to say as he broke down what they are expecting out of the Gamecocks this week moving towards the game against the Kentucky Wildcats coming up on Saturday. It is a biggin for the Gamecocks.
No, don't start.
Shane said something that got the media, and I'm going to say more importantly, said something that got a lot of Gamecock fans all up in his grill a little bit during a press conference. And I'm going to tell you that it bothered me a little bit because I think it's one of those things, and this is a sports fan thing, but this is one of those things where I feel like people rush to have a hot take without considering the context, and even worse. And I will say, as many times as I have and will continue to defend the deep state media, there are times when I have to acknowledge, because I'd be a dishonest individual if I don't, and I'm anything of that. There are times where fans will media members will absolutely clip bites in certain ways in order to present a narrative. And those are the people that I go, X this guy. Do it, not X him, because that's confusing now. Don't X him. Un-X him. Un-Twitter, un-X him.
Delete them?
It's another wrestling reference. We're very good at this.
Yes, I just want to say that I haven't heard any of this, so I really enjoy when I don't know something until first time on the air. So I can't wait.
I'll tell you what. I know it's early in the show, but we'll just do it in the next segment. We'll just get right to it because it's Thursday, and again, we're not hurting for stuff to talk about today, my dudes and dudettes. I got plenty for you. I got a bunch of sound. I think we might do the audio blitz every day. And I'm at the point now, I think we got to, not me. I think a sounder needs to be built for it.
Okay.
It can have like cool, like hood, like sounders to,
wow,
you know?
So you already know what it's going to be.
I mean, you hear blitz, you think football hit, right?
Yeah,
That's where your head goes immediately.
You do.
I don't know what else I could do.
When I hear blitz, I think Jadeveon Clowney taking out that Michigan dude. That's when I hear blitz.
Is that not? If that's not the best,
that was
hit
my
in the history of football,
screenshot for years on my phone.
Yeah, if that's not the best hit in the history of football, it's if we did the Mount Rushmore of clean hits, right? Mount Rushmore of clean hits. I think pick your Night Train Lane hit of choice would be up there. I think the Clowney hit on the Michigan running back would be up there. Anything else jump out to your head? If we did the clean hits of football Mount Rushmore, like the foremost hits, is Clowney on it? I think it is, right?
See, that's number one on my list because that's the one I brought up.
That is right,
yeah.
Like right where you went to.
Wow.
My camera's fuzzy.
Rob went for the terrible towel.
No, this is not the terrible towel. This is better than that. This is the Nashville Predators towel. And this was, I don't know if it still works, but this was cool. They gave these out in the playoffs a couple of years ago. It has a thing in it. Yeah, it looks like it's broken, but it has a thing in it that when you push it, there's a red LED light under there. Mm-hmm. And so they would turn out the lights. And when everybody was swinging these,
that's cool.
There'd be these big red, it was just red lights spinning in circles all over the stadium. It's a great rally towel.
So be like red fireflies.
It kind of is, but they're all like swinging real fast. At the risk of upsetting friend of the show, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, I am going to say that on the list, we're power ranking a lot right out of the gate. The terrible towel is like, I know it means a lot to Pittsburgh people. And if there's any Pittsburgh people listening right now, please don't injure me. But the terrible towel is kind of dumb. The terrible towel is kind of dumb.
Why is it dumb?
Because it doesn't do anything. Like it doesn't make noise. Dude, if you weren't allowed to yell.
It's an ugly towel, okay?
It's just a yellow towel.
Right, but a lot of ugly towels together shows unity and shows fight. I mean,
Well, I'll tell you what. When the 77,000 in the stands are allowed to come down on the field and play defense, then I'll say, yeah, it's a good thing. But, like, that doesn't do anything. Now, there's spots where it can be cool.
Neither does CLEMSO. Wait, what was the next letter?
No, that does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
It's the same
no,
thing,
it's not.
dude.
Because with that, you are yelling and filling the stadium with noise and contributing. 77,000 people waving the towel doesn't do anything. That is any different than any other 77,000 people that are yelling and making noise.
So you're
it's
saying,
the same thing.
Saying those guys waving the towels are not making any noise? It's silent?
No, I'm saying if I have 77,000 people over here screaming and 77,000 people over here screaming but waving a yellow hanky, it's the same thing. It doesn't do anything.
Okay, so I'm also confused.
In fact, you would be better served to put the towel down and clap and yell. That would be louder.
Really?
That would do more.
Really?
Yes!
Because you've done nothing but chastise the Texas A&M people for chanting and doing that.
No, they don't. No, they don't clap. Clapping would be one thing. They go, wah, woo, give me some. Yeah, like they do dumb things.
Yeah, you haven't been in the Clemson stands. They do the same thing when they do that. CLEM. It's the same thing. I mean, if you're gonna be critical of one, you gotta be critical of the other.
No,
at least the terrible towels. There's a visual involved that doesn't look like convulsions.
I was about to say the day Clemson rolls out a bunch of dorks in overalls to their game, but then I realized something.
It's an ag school. Yes, there are a lot of. Wow, you just made message boards and pretend like I don't exist when I did the whole thing. But that's fine.
Man. Oops. All right. So we got a lot we're going to get to today. I look forward to sharing that time with you.
So you see his hair?
I do.
It's like he did that to match Joe Burrow's hair. They just had Joe Burrow's hair and they switched to his hair. Are you going to do your hair like that next? Just a mix, because Joe Burrow now has looks like a mix of gray in his hair or something darker.
Well, it's growing out. He's been Eminem for 2 months now. Like the bleach doesn't stay that way forever.
No, it looks like that they did some extra work on it.
As someone who did, Lonzo, and this is true, as someone who did that in college, I rocked the bleach blonde in college my freshman year.
You were Joe Hendry your freshman year?
I was actually. In fact, not only was I, it was pretty damn close to exactly that. With the baby swoop up front, but the bleach blonde, pretty damn close to exactly that, to be honest. And I got to tell you,
because you still kind of have that hairstyle. So if you went with the blonde in there,
I haven't ruled it out. I told the fiance, like I feel myself, great one. I feel myself every day inching closer to the midlife crisis, and like I can't afford a yacht or a Corvette. You know what I mean? Like dudes have midlife crisis and they go buy a Porsche or whatever. I'm not there. I want to be. I'm just not there. So my midlife crisis is going to manifest via me. I told her, I'm like, you know what? I think when we come back, I think I might get earrings. I think that might be a manifest. I might go with the Joe. I'll tell you what, I'll call a shot right now. If Joe Burrow wins the Super Bowl, I will bleach my hair at the end of the season.
Okay.
You can book that now. Okay. If Joey B wins the Super Bowl, I will go back to the Joe Hendry / 2003 Rob Brown special.
See,
my God, that was 21 years ago.
Yeah, you just said something that something just happened to me like a couple of days ago. I was picking the granddaughter up in the school line, and the teacher put her in the car and she's like, I want one of these for my midlife crisis. Was she cracking on me, or was she legitimately wanting one for herself?
I don't know. Oh, the mind of a child. We'll never know.
No. The teacher said it.
The teacher said it. I thought your grandkid said
No.
That's
my
hilarious.
Grandkid thinks I'm Batman.
How old's the teacher?
She's got
like my age.
She's got got some Henry in her hair. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that doesn't do anything.
No, she looks like she's older. I can't.
Okay.
There's really young teachers, and then there are the
for
ones
sure.
that look older. So I would guess 50s.
So I had two types of teachers growing up. I had the Jody Gherkins and the Mary Myers, who were smoke shows that I'm still in love with my 3rd and 4th grade teachers. And then I had Miss Thomas and Miss Grady, who had to be in their 190s. When they were my high school teachers.
Yeah, all the old ones were mean to me. Miss Silverspoon hit me in the
mean ones were always.
She hit me in the head with wooden blocks.
That's because
I didn't line up the fire drill. But unfortunately, my aunt, who was head of the PTA, just was outside the window and saw her hit me with the blocks, and then she was gone.
The old teachers, because they taught in the Civil War, were still hanging on to some animosity, and you got the end of it as a kid.
Well, listen, it's alphabetical order. I'm last anyway. What do I need to hurry?
All right, when we come back here in just a minute, Shane Beamer under a little bit of fire from, honestly, fans and the media to some degree, and I am going to defend him while also pointing out that there's coaches got to start being careful, because he ain't the only coach that's under fire. So is Billy Napier from the University of Florida, and I'm not going to defend him. In fact, quite the opposite. I'm going to attack him. I'll tell you what I'm talking about when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, what it do, chat? Good morning. Welcome into this little bit of chaos we call the radio show. Kobe. Oh, swish. Nothing but the bottom of the can. Nailed that. All right. Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. Did they send me daughters?
Silver and I watched on YouTube yesterday. Name the 50 Disney movies from their music.
How'd you do? I'm going 50 for 50.
There's some newer ones.
That's true.
I kept missing Tangled.
Yeah. That one's in my bank. That one's one of my favorites.
I've seen Tangled.
It's great.
But I missed the music on it. And there's some really a couple old ones I missed. I missed Sleeping Beauty.
Really?
Because it wasn't Prince Charming singing. It was just a real old one, and I knew it was somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It was either that or
I'm gonna need you to send that to me. I'm gonna have to play it. See how I do. I think I can go. I'm going minimum 42.
Yeah,
minimum 42.
I was somewhere around there.
I think I can get if I don't get 48, I'll be disappointed. I will acknowledge there are some of the new ones I haven't seen yet. Like
but the cool part is she got the ones I didn't get.
Yeah.
Except for the really old ones.
Yeah. I think if you let me and my nephew play together, we're going for 50 for 50 because he's seen all the new ones, and there are some of the newer ones I have not seen.
But as soon as you click on something like that, then your algorithm gives you a bunch like 80 songs and a bunch of things, which is kind of cool.
Courtney and I play it on the Alexa. There's a song quiz, and you can ask it for like decades or genres or whatever. And we play it against each other all the time. So I think that, and I've said this before, one of the biggest things that we as sports fans tend to do, and, you know, as Lonzo loves to point out all the time, fan is short for fanatic. Fanatic is a part of fanaticism, taking things past their logical foundation. But if you really think about it, allowing sports to dictate such a big part of our life is it's illogical. It's irrational. And we don't care. We don't care so much that I get to do this for a job, which I would not get to do if you guys weren't fanatics, if you didn't love sports beyond what is, frankly, reasonable. Thank you. So there's another angle of that, and that is I do think, as much as I do think to some degree, we have reached a point in society where we love to, anytime that something is reported that is contrary to what we wish to be true, sometimes want, sometimes no, but more often than not in the discussions I've had with people, when things are reported that are anti what we wish to be true, it is easier to make the media a bad guy than it is to actually evaluate if what they're saying is accurate, than to actually consider if what is being reported is true. But there is a root to that problem as well. And the root is there are a lot of bad, quote, journalists, end quote, out there that will absolutely manipulate and massage a story in order to either A, get clicks, or B, spin a narrative. Now, I've made the argument that if a journalist is caught manipulating facts in order to spin a narrative, they're not a journalist anymore. They're an editorialist, and they should be labeled as such forever. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because Shane Beamer did a press conference, and we're going to ask later on in the show at 8 a.m. when we are joined for the very first time by Lulu Kesson. She is the new South Carolina Gamecock beat reporter for the Greenville News. She is going to join us every Thursday at 8 a.m. to discuss Gamecock football. We'll ask her about this. Shane Beamer was doing a press conference to talk about what happened against Old Dominion last Saturday and what he wants to see happen moving towards Kentucky this Saturday. And in the conversation, he gave a 1 minute and 17-second answer. I have broken it up into two parts. I have broken up into 61 seconds that I listened and went, this is great stuff from Shane. And then 17 seconds that I went, ooh, probably shouldn't have gone with that. That's probably not what you should have run with in that spot. So let's start with this. This is the opening 60 seconds of what Shane Beamer had to say. And I'm going to tell you, listening to it, this sounds like a football coach. Here's Shane Beamer.
We just looked off and we weren't clicking on all cylinders. I'd be lying if I sat up here and said we were. You know, the ball over there to Nick on their sideline was just a high throw. I think that's just probably more mechanics by Lenoris that will get cleaned up without a doubt. You know, but for the most part, I thought he threw the ball well. Certainly there were some, you know, misreads and some plays that he would like to have back, just like calls Dow would like to have back and plays that our other guys would as well. So we need to be better. There's no question about it. I don't like it. You know, I hate to say it, but it's true. We're continuing to gel as a receiving core with the quarterback. Three of those guys, Dre, Camp, and Nick, didn't go through spring practice, as I said, and we're trying to do it as fast as we can, and we should have been better than what we were on Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. There's no question about it, but
I'm good with all that, right? That sounds great.
Yeah, we've seen that happen in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to have some time to gel
for sure
with your guys to know what their little quirks are and all that kind of stuff.
For sure. All great. All good with that. And here's the thing, because I know a lot of people are like,
I was say I basically said that the other day.
Yeah.
So,
and there were some people who were going, oh, we're going into week 2. You should be gelled already. That's not how it works, especially not in the college ranks where, yeah, you can play a spring game and you can run scrimmages. But as every football coach that's ever football coached has told you, you cannot simulate without playing another team. That's why so many NFL teams are not just relying on the preseason games anymore. That's why we have every team going through multiple joint practices with the multiple teams in their preseason schedule. That includes, as we know with the Carolina Panthers this year, 11-on-11 live ball controlled scrimmages in practice, because you cannot simulate going up against 11 other guys when the 11 other guys are your guys. All right, so let's get to the second part of this answer. And this is where Shane took a little heat. Now, I'm going to play you the clip. And I want you to listen right at the beginning as Shane Beamer talks about what he has been telling this team to get them ready. Here's Shane.
I told the team today we're 88 days from the Clemson game. So,
okay, that's the beginning of the answer. I want you to tack that on to the minute that we played a second ago. He said all these things. You know, we're having a gel. I've told the boys, like, we got to work on that. That's not something that just happens. You got to work, et cetera, et cetera. And then he said, I've told the team we're 88 days from the Clemson game. And a lot of South Carolina fans that I saw on social media, and again, social media is, so that we're very clear, and I know this, not a representation of the fan base at large, but I have also argued that it's not a part of the crowd that I would ignore. Okay? It's not. If your fans, and we're going to talk about this with Billy Napier coming up in a minute, if your fans are passionate enough, if your fans are into it enough that they are taking time out of their day to pop on X or Instagram or Facebook or whatever and fire off their opinion on your team, I think you've got to value that, right? And so Shane said, I've told the team there are 88 days until the Clemson game. And boy, howdy, did some Gamecocks get upset. Not because Shane's got the Clemson game circled in red, so do they, but because the way he phrased it makes it sound as if he's overlooking the 10 games between here and there. They got one in the back. They got 10 between here and then the finisher against Clemson. And the way that Gamecock fans have responded, and by the way, a lot of writers, a lot of media people, and they don't control it, but they are part of it. A lot of them have said, how in the world is Shane, a guy that we now know is going to be fighting for his bowl eligibility life, why is he dialed in on a game that's 88 days away and not a game that's 4 days away?
Okay, this is the first I've heard it. I don't take it that way. Last game of the season.
I'm glad you said that, Lonzo. I don't mean to interrupt, but let me play you the clip in its entirety, because I saw a lot of people who ended the clip there. That's where it stopped. I told them we got 88 days till the Clemson game, and then they stopped the clip. I'm not going to do that. Here's the rest of it.
I told the team today we're 88 days from the Clemson game, so we ain't got a lot of time to sit around and wait for this thing to gel. Like, we got to gel right now, and we can't just sit around and just wait for it to happen. We got to make it happen, because each day we're getting closer to the end of the regular season, and we've got to come together pretty quickly here.
So Shane basically said, I'm not using, well, he didn't say this. I am inferring from it. He is not using, in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion, and this is why I have said to you a billion times, words matter. What you say matters, and how you say it matters. I get why, if I would have ended that clip, had I started and ended that clip with what he said initially,
Told the team today we're 88 days from the Clemson games,
and that was it, then I would see how people would get upset. But then he went on and he said, this is about getting better every day, because the end of the season is not too far away. And that's all we have. I was listening to, was it Marcus Freeman, Mike Elko, one of those guys. I think it was one of the Notre Dame A&M guys that went into the locker room after a win. And he said, guys, you are guaranteed 12 games. No more. You're not guaranteed anything after that. You're not guaranteed a bowl game, a playoff spot, a national championship game. You are guaranteed 12 games. And so what we're going to do is we're going to dial in on these 12, because we Whatever happens to us after those 12 is determined by those 12. You are guaranteed 12 games. You got to focus in on those 12 games. And I think that's what Shane Beamer was saying here. Not, we got to be ready for Clemson. And we're going to overlook Kentucky and Alabama and all these teams that are on the schedule. No. I think what he's saying is, guys, we got 88 days and then the season's over. And there's no guarantee what happens after that. Zoe, I'm glad you said what you said, and I want your thoughts on it because I inferred the same thing you did. It is not, we got to get good between here and Clemson. It's, we got 88 days of football, then this season's over. We can't wait 2, 3, 4 weeks to gel. We got to make it happen now.
And the sad part, I've been on teams, high school and college, that were not good. And the coaches come in and basically say that, and you as a player don't always grasp that. You don't realize, hey, this might be it for me. I should look forward to every single game and know that this has an end point. And that's what he's saying. This has an end point. And yeah, I get why some people immediately went, oh, let me clip that. But you saw my reaction. I legitimately did not hear it till that point. And everyone knows that's you know what the last game for Clemson is? South Carolina.
Sure.
So if Dabo said that, they would do the same thing. They would clip that part because that's the thing that gets people to click and they don't really listen to it. And that's why when anyone says, hey, did you hear this? I want multiple sources. I want to hear the entire thing because it's so easy to clip something out of it. I can make Rob say anything I want. And
what he means is by utilizing audio in order to accomplish that and not by just looking at me and going, say this, you little.
Yeah, that's what I meant. But that's I'm guilty. I'm sure everyone listening is guilty of clicking on something just because you see a headline.
Oh,
and
sure.
I get ticked off when I see that or I hear something and then find out that was only a little bit of it and that I got baited into that.
For sure, without a doubt. I think that when it comes down to it, if you stopped the audio, like I said, the first time that I heard it, the first time that I found this clip, it was because I found somebody that went out and played the first minute I played for you, and then
Told the team that they were 88 days from the Clemson games.
and ended it there and put up on the tweet connected to it. Shane Beamer says he's told the team to focus on the Clemson game. And when I read that, I was like, oh, Shane, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. And then I went and found the rest of the clip because I'm like, it didn't sound like he was done. So I went and found the rest of the clip.
So we ain't got a lot of time to sit around and wait for this thing to gel. Like we got to gel right now, and we can't just sit around and just wait for it to happen. We got to make it happen because each day we're getting closer to the end of the regular season, and we've got to come together pretty quickly here.
And that's fine because that's very true. Guys, I know football season literally just started, but you have 88 days. You have effectively 11 and a half weeks, and we're done, right? And if you're South Carolina, let's be real clear. You got one. You got to find 5 more wins in what is genuinely considered one of the most difficult schedules in college football this year. One of the most difficult schedules in football, and you got to go find 5 more wins, or you're done in 88 days. You will walk off that field at Clemson if you don't find 5 more wins. You will walk off that field and you will be done. The 2024 football season will conclude. The seniors will never strap the Gamecock helmet back on. The juniors, sophomores, and freshies will turn their attention towards year 2 or 3 or 4, whatever they're going into. The NFL guys will head off to training to get ready for the combine. It'll be over in 88 days if you don't find 5 more wins. And I think what Shane is saying here is we got to dial in on getting good now, because I'm going to tell you right now, Zoe, if you're going to find 5 more wins, Kentucky's got to be one of them. I don't think let's be clear. I don't think there's a path to 6 wins if you don't beat Kentucky. I've been saying that all season. This isn't a new hot take. I think if this team is going to make it to 6 wins, Kentucky's got to be one of them because you got LSU next week. I'm going to tell you, after what I saw on Sunday, you're not as good as LSU. Akron's got to be one of them. Then you got number 6 Ole Miss, who just dropped a 70-piece on Furman. Number 4 Alabama, who just dropped, I think they got to 70 against Western Kentucky. Oklahoma, who is number 15, and would they win 60-something to 3 this weekend? Then you got A&M. Then you got Vandy, which has to be one of them, but that's Vandy who just knocked off Virginia Tech, who was expected to be an ACC dark horse. Then you got Missouri. This ain't the same Missouri squad you faced up the last couple of years. Then you got Wofford. Then you got Clemson. If there's 6 wins on this schedule, Kentucky's got to be one. And I think Shane was kind of dialing in on 88 days, this is all over. We got to gel now. But, of course, you had a couple of guys who took it, clipped it halfway, and went, oh, Shane only cares about Clemson. That ain't true, man. It's not true. All right, when we come back, let's go to a coach I am going to attack, and that's Billy Napier. And I'm not alone in that. I'll tell you what Billy said yesterday that got the fans and media heated and how we respond to it next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Coach. Clemson coach.
Guys, give me 30 seconds. I will be right back. All right, we're back. Thanks for a minute.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, Zach. I could see why that would be similar.
See, but again, the chop is
super
loud in the stadium.
It has sound with it. So it's got to have sound,
and
apparently.
the fans are in unison, because I'll tell you, if you've never stood on a field and experienced, and I'm not saying anybody else hasn't, I'm saying I have a lot of times. If you've ever stood on a field and experienced the difference between a rowdy crowd and a rowdy crowd that is in unison doing the same thing together at full throat, it is a completely different vibe.
But have you been to Pittsburgh?
I have not.
To again, so,
but again,
I mean,
when people arrive in the towel, they're not in unison. I'm talking about the difference between 70,000 people doing the chop in unison versus just people yelling.
Yeah, doing
There's a
this,
difference.
you got to have more rhythm doing this than you do this.
It's not the this. It's the oh, whoa, 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 whoa. That goes with it when everybody's doing it at the same time with a full band behind it.
Bad. That was so bad. Sped up.
Jacob texts the show 71307. Start your text with fan. Jacob said, Rob, USC fan here. I did not like that comment by Shane. It should have been, we have 4 days until Kentucky and we have to fix some things to get ready. That's from Jacob. Jacob, appreciate that text, buddy. Great to have you. But I do have 2 questions for you. I have 2 questions. I actually texted Jacob back to get his answer on our text line 71307. If you text the show, I'm not going to say always, but I see them all. I will occasionally text you back via the text line to get your thoughts. I asked Jacob 2 things. Number 1, did that segment change your mind at all? And number 2, when you heard that clip, did somebody present it in its entirety, or did you hear a clip that stopped at the Clemson part? Did you get the entire second half of the clip, or did it end with, I told the guys we have 88 days till the Clemson game, end quote? Because if it ended there, I would 100% have a problem. If Shane would have said, I told the boys we have 88 days till the Clemson game, and then that was it, yes, I would have come in here today and been like, that's not great, Shane. That's not great, but that's not what happened. He went on for a little while longer and said, we've got to be working to get better every day because the end of the season is close. It's only 88 days away, and we got a lot. I took it as I would have felt the same way and had the same reaction had he said, we got 4 days till Kentucky and we got a lot to fix. I'd have gone, yeah, for sure. I say the same thing here. You got 88 days. And here's Jacob. Jacob came back with this, quote, I had not heard the last part. I thought he cleaned up the thought at the end. It's hard not to give the media bait. And that is it. This is one of those things that I have said. I think a massive part of coaching is not just the coaching on the field. It's not just the representation of the school off the field. It's also understanding every time you say words into a microphone, there are people out there who are going to be looking for ways to start and end your sound bites in specific ways to make you look bad. There will be some who do it to make you look good too. But there are many who will do it to make you look bad as fodder for their show. So when Jacob says, I had not heard the last part, yeah, that's kind of exactly what I was saying, right? Kind of exactly what I was saying is if you only heard the first part of the clip, it's easy to look at Shane and go, that's amateur, that's Bush League. But if you got the second part of the clip, it's a different world. Now, let me take you to another coach. That got himself in some hot water yesterday. After the end of the show, Lonzo and I were listening to the SEC coaches conference call, and we were listening to all the SEC coaches go through, and Billy Napier said something that when I heard it, I went, oh, no. And remember, this is a guy that's already under fire. This is a guy that came into this season as the shortest odds to be the first college football coach fired. He's got shortest odds to be fired in season. He's already on the hot seat. There's no will this season put him there. He is already got a burning booty by sitting on the hot seat. All right. Billy Napier in the press conference was asked a number of questions about how he and his squad are dealing with getting smoked by Miami 41-17. Now, I was unable to get a bit of the audio, but here is what Billy Napier said. He said, quote, I think we've got to become a more consistent team and we have to execute better. If we can focus on those things and not necessarily what some guy in his basement is saying in rural Central Florida on social media, then we got a chance to get better. I think that's the key. Sometimes you deserve criticism. I think that's one of those things I would say I have no excuses, right? We've got to go get it fixed. All right. I am good with a lot of what Billy Napier said there. The you in your couch or you on your computer in your mom's basement thing, I think is just played as hell, all right? I played this clip.
You just sit at home in your grandma's basement with the drawers on, typing on your damn keyboard. Shut the hell up.
And it's very funny. But that's Charles Barkley on Inside the NBA on TNT. That's a goof-off show with 4 goobers talking basketball better than anybody else in America, I might be clear. But it's just a goober. Charles Barkley ain't a head coach. Now, I heard that from Billy, and I went, oh, no. If you are the dude that is saying, hey, only dudes in their mom's basements are criticizing us right now, that's a real bad look. That's real dumb. Now, sometimes, Lonzo, I don't know if you've ever noticed this before, I like validation. I like when people echo takes that I have. I like when people say things that I say, like people in high-ranking spots on a national scale say things that I say because it makes me feel like, oh, maybe I'm not a gigantic moron after all. Mike Greenberg wanted to talk a little bit about the comments from Billy Napier, and here's what Greeny had to say yesterday.
Okay, coach, dead to me. Okay, dead to me. Done. You take shots at your own fans. Let's cover the obvious first, okay? He doesn't even know the territory that he represents. You cannot have a basement in Florida. That's the first part of this, okay? The old sitting in his mother's basement, which is the most tired of cliches, generalizations, etc. in sports or beyond, doesn't apply in Florida. There's too much water. It is a swamp. Your stadium is literally called the Swamp.
Okay, I do have to pause right there. Thank you, Greeny. Thank you for 2 things. Number 1, all that's correct. And number 2, for showing me that you can absolutely have these ridiculous out of left field thoughts on a syndicated radio program and it's fine, okay? Because that's exactly the vibe Zoe and I put out when we say a thing and then I completely derail the show by going, wait a minute, I have an issue with what was just said, this weird catchphrase or that banner or logo or these words or whatever, and I left-hand turn the show and bring us back later. Greeny just did that, and I appreciate it.
It doesn't just happen on the show. We did that in the office yesterday.
Oh, for sure. We do it all the time.
Yeah. He's
right.
He did this stuff on Mike and Mike all the time, and he's gotten away from it some here. But every once in a while, it's good to know that we're not the only ones who think like that.
And as somebody from the state of Florida, ain't no basements. There's just not. All right. You have the best you have is a house that's built on the side of the hill. And it's like one of the ones that the front door is on the second story. And then you go downstairs. But that's not a basement. That's the first floor. You just enter on the second. There's no basements in Florida.
Not a lot of basements around here either.
Also true.
Because of the clay, I believe is the reason.
Also true. Anyway, Greeny had more.
And you cannot put basements underneath them. So this does not apply either literally or figuratively. But beyond that, and I've said this 1,000,000 times, and I will say it 1,000,000 more, those fans you're criticizing, their passion is the reason you have that job. Their passion is the reason you get paid as much money as you get paid. Those fans who save up their money, not the ones who sit in the corporate suites, not the ones who make huge donations to the university. They're not the ones criticizing you on Twitter. The ones who are criticizing you on social media are the ones who save up their money to travel to 1 game a year, who give their kids for Christmas, Florida jerseys, all that kind of stuff. They're people who have been there long before you got there, and they're going to be there long after you're gone. For you, this is a job, and I get it. It's important, and I get criticism stinks. But it comes with the territory. And if you're going to fire back on your own fans, you have lost. It is over. Billy Napier is already out of Florida. It is just a question of when they decide to make it official. You do not win your fans back after this. No coach ever goes after the fans and gets it back again. To me, this is the cardinal sin.
Yep, that's it. That's it entirely. I agree entirely. And this is why I've said in the past, there is one thing that I give Dabo credit a lot. Give Dabo Swinney a lot of credit for. You know what it is? His ability to kind of work to calm down the fan base without attacking them is elite. It is an elite capability he has.
I don't know. I think he's lost it because he no longer does a call-in show. So
that is true.
Yes, I mean,
that is true,
and that's gotten a lot of publicity.
But I want you to think about it.
Doesn't do that anymore.
Because and I do put it on the Tyler from Spartanburg call. All right, because that was a big thing. But remember, what did he do? He came out. They won, what was it, 5 straight after that, 4 straight after that, and then he turned that into a positive. That's elite. The second thing Dabo does all the time, and while it burns me up, I also get why he does it. Dabo puts it all on the media, right? He goes, oh, you guys can write whatever you want about me. You can say whatever you want about me, which is effectively saying, knock off the criticism. I'm not here for it, but he pins it on guys like me, not his fan base. That's brilliant. All right? Make me the bad guy and let the fans say what they want and pretend they're not.
You're not a journalist, so.
I mean, correct, but he doesn't say journalist. He says media, and I am the media. So are you. Like it or not. You are the media, bud. You are part of the deep state media, Alonzo. Sorry about it, buddy. You're part of the machine.
I'm not part of the deep state. They get paid more.
Welcome.
That's my understanding.
To the machine. All right. Now, I do want to finish up Greeny's thoughts here because he went on a little bit, and I think this is the part that I have been saying for a very long time. And it's about Billy Napier in this conversation, but this part that Greeny said, this is to every coach, and that includes Shane Beamer and Dabo Swinney and everybody everywhere that's got a clipboard and a visor and a whistle. This applies to you.
My job description and his is you put your work on display for the world, and the world is going to judge it. And if you can't handle that, you're in the wrong line of work, whether you're a broadcaster, a football coach, or anything else. That's the description. That's the job. This is the business we have chosen. I'm going to put my work out there. And no matter how well you think you do it, there are going to be people who don't like it. Again, I'm not comparing myself to him in any infinitesimal way. If you added up all the criticism I've received in my 30-year career, it would be less than he's probably heard since the game on Saturday. But that doesn't matter. That's the one place you can't go. Because by saying what you said, you just did the opposite of what you're telling your players to do. You're telling your players, we need to be focused on the things that matter, the X's and O's, getting it right, getting our blocking schemes together, whatever it is that failed you in that game. And obviously that's right. But you don't say it. You don't say it. You don't ever say it. So to me, he has committed the cardinal sin of coaching at any level, but particularly on the college level in that part of the country. So I don't know how he comes back from here.
Bingo. Bingo. Wango bango, Greeny with the dinger. I agree. And when I say I agree, I've been saying that for a very long time. For a very long time. That's the one thing you don't do. And again, ton of credit to Dabo Swinney. I've figured this out in the 4.5 years I've been here. Dabo does an excellent job of saying, stop the criticism, stop the critiques, but he pins it on me. He pins it on Rob Brown. He pins it on Cole and Diesel. He pins it on Zoe. He pins it on us, the college football deep state media. That's who he pins it on. That way, he doesn't have to grab a microphone and go, oh, it's just criticism from a bunch of dorks in their mom's basements.
I'm just going to slap the hell out of him right on the spot.
He doesn't say that about you. Why? Because when Billy Napier calls a guy like, I'll give you one, my little brother is a Florida fan. My little brother has kind of been on the edge of like, I don't know if he's the guy. I don't think he's the guy. And now, because my little brother has fired off criticisms on social media, now my little brother just got called a dork in his mom's basement in rural central Florida by the coach that needs him defending him right now. You have no one in your corner because the administration's not in your corner. And now the fans aren't in your corner. And if the administration and the fans aren't in your corner, in what world are the players going to be in your corner? I think this is spectacular from Greenberg. It echoes what I've been saying for a very, very long time. Billy's cooked. Shane's not, because Shane got played by the media. Billy played himself. Now, we're going to play something. Hey, it's not playing. It's reading. It's not reading. It's delivering. Now projecting, delivering unto you the best part of this hour of the show is Alonzo with a sports flash.
He ain't lying about that. Charlie Morton earned his 8th win. Oh, you set me up. Season with a 5-inning, 2-run, 8 strikeout performance for the Atlanta Braves and a 3-0 win over Colorado. Atlanta tips the sweep tonight, just a half game up on the Mets for the final wildcard spot. The LSU Tigers have lost starting running back John Emery Jr. for the season with a torn ACL. According to reports, Emery played in 7 games last year and started against USC last Sunday, rushing for 61 yards on 10 carries. The Tigers will rely on sophomore Caleb Jackson and senior Josh Williams, who combined for just 51 yards in week 1. The NFL season kicks off tonight at 8 p.m. as the reigning, defending, undisputed champs, Kansas City Chiefs, take on the Baltimore Ravens, followed by Green Bay versus Philly from Brazil tomorrow night, and a full slate of games on Sunday. Tune in this Saturday at 4:30 as the Furman Paladins take on the Charleston Southern Buccaneers right here on the Fan Upstate. By the way, Adam, I would say Napier because of expectations. They may both be gone by the end of the season. Who knows? Napier may not make it to the end of the season.
A 1,000 suns for this day to arrive. And it has week 1.
So there's this guy on Instagram, and all he does is videos where he provides creative ideas for D&D campaigns, right? Some of them are real serious and some of them are really goofy. So he created one called Bill Nye, Ken the Science Lichen. It's a professor who goes around town to town educating the town on science to make them better places, but also he's a werewolf. But then he started coming up with all these other characters like Bill Nye, the Science Hydra, who you can use as bad guys to help Bill Nye, Ken the Science guy, the Science Lichen, to defeat. And now all I want to do is write up a campaign just based around Bill Nye, but a werewolf. It's so goofy, and I'm here for it.
Wonder what Bill Nye thinks about that. And
I think he would love it.
Does Bill Nye actually play D&D? I don't know. Can a science guy play something that requires imagination? All right. Anyway, you're not Bill Nye.
No, I'm not Bill Nye.
You're a sports guy who likes science.
Okay. Good on her for getting the bag. But the Hawk Tour girl just announced she's launching a podcast that is funded by a lot of money under Jake Paul's podcasting network's name.
Yeah, that's been out there a couple of days.
Can you guess the name of it? It's right there. It's Talk Tua.
Yeah, good for her.
It's an unnecessary podcast. The name slaps.
But take advantage of your 15 minutes.
Hell yeah.
I mean,
hell yeah. Oh, I'm not mad at her for getting the bag. I'm mad at us for continuing to give it to her. I'm not mad at her for getting the bag. Talk Tua. That name is brilliant. Bill Nye and Disney are separating? I didn't know Bill Nye was doing Disney stuff. I know he put out a show like 2 years ago, but I didn't know he'd done anything. I know, so I'm a member of the Planetary Society. Judge away, buddy. I like space.
I'm not judging.
It's like $5 a
I'm not
month. And I
judging.
get cool
It's
space
it's
stuff.
not what you said. It's how you said it.
I get cool space stuff.
It says, so I'm a member of the Planetary.
I am.
So that's how you said
I'm
it.
very proud of it. The Rob Brown Show begins hour number 2 right here on the Fan Upstate. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. And, of course, more importantly than anything else, happy NFL regular season day number 1. We are 13 hours and some change away from kickoff between the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, a rematch of last year's, and potentially a preview of this year's AFC Championship game. The Chiefs took the last edition. It punched them a ticket to the Super Bowl, which, of course, they would go on and win number 2 in a row. If they wish to three-peat, it is very likely they will bump into this team again in the playoffs, which means that the winner of tonight has an immediate leg up in the ability to host the AFC Championship game, and that's something Lamar and the Ravens desperately need. Coming up later on in the show, we're going to talk a lot of NFL. Lonzo and I have been going day by day this week, giving you our predictions, projections, and prognostications of divisions in the NFL. Today, we do the West. We have done the AFC East, where I have the Dolphins and Lonzo's got the Jets. We have done the NFC East, where Lonzo's got the boys, and I'm taking the long shot Commanders to get it done. We have done the AFC North, where Lonzo took the Bengals and I took the Ravens. We have done the NFC North, where Lonzo took the Lions, and I took the Lions. So it's the only one we're in agreement on so far. And today we do the AFC and the NFC West. I got a surprise for you for Lonzo's prediction in the West. But we'll see.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. I absolutely do not.
We'll have another agreement there.
Yes, we will. I have no doubt that we will. So we'll talk about the AFC and NFC West. We'll talk about the NFC West, and then we'll just say Kansas City Chiefs to end the segment. I think that's probably what will happen.
Well, we got to decide who's number 2.
That is true. Coming up in 1 hour from right now, Lulu Kesson is the new beat reporter for the Greenville News covering the South Carolina Gamecock football program. We will talk to Lulu at 8 o'clock. Unfortunately, no Rashad Beard today. Rashad got called into the the office today. So no Rashad today at 8:40, but Rashad will join us tomorrow at 8:40, where we will preview, prognosticate, and break down the Week 1 contest between the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints down on the Bayou. Down in the Big Easy to Crescent City. Ooh, I'm about to make a name for myself. The Saints and the Panthers coming up this Sunday at 1 p.m. We'll talk to Rashad tomorrow at 9:20. It's Thursday, and you know what that means. Fight Club with the great one, Lonzo. We'll talk boxing, MMA, and let's be real, professional wrestling coming up at 9:20.
Your accent made me want Ruffles.
Ooh.
Do you remember the Cajun dude that was shilling Ruffles for a long time?
I don't.
You don't. You should look.
Don't.
You should look that up. They're one to munch. That was yeah, I can't do the Cajun thing. I guarantee they won to munch. I guarantee.
Okay, this happened in 1986.
Okay, well that
was one.
Okay, well that would be why you don't remember.
Granted,
You should check that guy out. He's hilarious.
that's Justin Wilson. I know Justin Wilson very well. I didn't know he did Ruffles.
Okay.
Justin, I mean this. So Justin Wilson, big cooking guy, like Cajun. All right. If you thought Gambit's accent in Deadpool 3, if you thought Gambit was like ridiculous, if you thought that was a ridiculous accent, I want you to go to YouTube and look up Justin Wilson and what this man is. He is the Cajun.
Well, yeah.
He's the definition of Cajun.
When he was pushing Ruffles, that's the first. That's the first time I ever heard that kind of accent.
And I want you to know, in the year 2024, Lonzo, I got family that sounds just like him. To this day, I got family that sound just like him.
Do you have any that sounds like Bobby Boucher?
No, fortunately, my family tree is more of a tree than a wreath, so we're good.
Okay, or the
I do have two that
special
sound.
teams coach.
I got two that sound just like Gambit in X-Men, just like him. Like the biggest thing I've seen online is people are like, "Oh, that accent's over the top." No, it ain't. No, it ain't, Shaw. It is spot on, bro. I gave Channing Tatum so much credit because he nailed it. It's ridiculous how good it is.
Is it like the equivalent of a Pickens accent to Southern accents?
Like I don't know how to break that down. It's just a Cajun accent, but Gambit's spot on. I mean, it's spot on. Ooh, I better make a name for myself. It's spot on. All right, listen, it's 7:05. We got to put all that to the side. Those are important conversations. We may even come back to it later in the show. We might have to play like 10 seconds of that 1986 Ruffles Cajun Spice, but Cajun Spice Ruffles, why is that not still a thing?
By the way, they were really good.
How's that not a thing?
I graduated in 1986. I remember the commercial and I remember the Ruffles. I mean, so it was pretty good.
I was in diapers in 1986. I wasn't walking in 1986.
All right. We've established that I'm old, but you're not exactly young. So.
I want you to know, and I mean it. At the second this segment is concluded, I am immediately tweeting Ruffles and being like, yo, you got to bring these back. And I want you to know, I will be the official spokesman. You can either have Rob Brown or Channing Tatum, but he has to be Gambit to promote these chips. But we got to get the Cajun Spice Ruffles back.
Will he make the chips kinetic and like throw the Ruffles?
Ooh.
That would be kind of cool.
I was going to quote another line from that movie, but there's not another one I can say. What I can say is water cooler cheat sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
Yes, I'm going to hurt you, sir.
take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, and it shall be a sprint through it, ladies and gentlemen, because we got stuff to talk about in the money hour of the show. So let us dive head first in with item number 1. Don't worry, you baseball haters. You only got about 21 more games left in the regular season, and then we move on from regular season baseball in the water cooler cheat sheet for another month and a half. It'll be playoff baseball. But don't you worry. Then you only got 2 more months, and then baseball season's over, and you won't have to deal with the baseball score every day.
Thing in now, like November?
Late October. You got
So like Halloween?
A little bit before, but like ballpark, yeah.
Ballpark. I see what you did there.
Yeah, good at this. 5-2 winners, the Atlanta Braves last night over the Colorado Rockies. They have taken the first 2 games of a 3-game set against the Pebbles and improves the Braves record to 76-63. That is now 13 games over 500. It was ludicrous night last night. Lonzo, if you haven't done it yet, I suggest you do it. Go look at Luda's first pitch. Luda, do you remember that song Luda did a couple of years ago?
Is this a recent first pitch?
It was last night.
Okay.
All right. Do you remember the video for When I Move, You Move, Just Like That? When I Move, You Move, Just Like That. When I Move, You Move,
I know
just
the
like
song,
that.
but
Hey.
I never saw the video.
Okay. So in the video, Luda has these big like movie costume, giant muscle arms and giant muscle legs he wears. It's just for the video. He wore them last night to ludicrous night in the ATL at Truist Park. He threw out the first pitch, great one, with a giant movie FX muscle rubber hand and threw one of the better first pitches you're ever going to see. Was out throwing NFL players' first pitches, and Luda did it with these big, goofy music video muscle arms on. It's pretty spectacular. The Braves were very clearly inspired by Luda as they went on to win 5-3 last night. The second of 3 against Colorado. Charlie Morton improves his record on the season to 8-7 with a 5-inning, 5-hit, 2-run, 8-strikeout performance last night. The offense for the Braves racked up 7 hits. Jared Kelly got himself a 3-run dinger, and that was the difference in this one. As the playoff standings go right now, the Atlanta Braves are still 7 games back, as the Philadelphia Phillies also won last night. They also are fortunate to be a half game up on the Mets still, as the Mets also won last night. The good news is the Braves are winning baseball games at this point. The bad news for Atlanta is so is everybody else. The Padres won. They are still 3 games back of the number 1 wild card seed. The Diamondbacks won their 2nd in a row. They are still 2.5 games back of the number 2 wild card seed. The Mets won, so Atlanta stays a single half game up on New York. The Cubs won, so they stay 4.5 games up on Chicago. And the Cardinals won, so they stay 5.5 up on the Redbirds for that final wild card spot. Y'all, the end of this baseball season is going to be a very specific type of dream for Rob Manfred, because this thing is coming down to the final day of the regular season. We'll talk a lot of baseball as that season progresses, but let's get to item number 2. I go from baseball to golf, and I don't care what you think about it, because this is very interesting to me. Yesterday, it was announced that in December, Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy will be a tag team to take on Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka in a 2v2 competition in Las Vegas, Nevada. Why is that interesting? This is not another edition of The Match, which is, frankly, in my opinion, as a golf guy, been really entertaining the last few years. This is bigger than that. If you follow golf at all, you will notice that Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy represent the PGA Tour. Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, they represent the LIV Tour. It was made official yesterday as negotiations continue between the PGA Tour and the Saudi Public Investment Fund that runs the LIV Tour, that we are about to have our first personal showdown between the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour. Since the LIV Tour was created, there have only been 5 times a year that all the players got together, the 4 majors and the Olympics. This will be the first non-major tournament and non-Olympics that you will have the PGA Tour guys directly competing with LIV Tour guys. It is a 2v2 tournament that will take place between a quad of players that have a combined 13 major wins over the last decade, but it is the PGA versus the LIV Tour. And I got to tell you, I am stressed right now. Why am I stressed right now? Because I don't want the LIV Tour to exist, okay? And I will acknowledge that it is 199% purely based on my politics. I do not think the Public Investment Fund should be allowed to participate. Now, I can't stop them from participating in international sports. I frankly don't have any way to prevent them from participating in American sports. I just don't like them at all. I think they're bad people. And I will also say, as I have said many times, if they called me today and said, Rob Brown, we want to pay you $1 million a year to come be the LIV Tour voice, I'm gone. I'm gone. That's generational wealth that changes my family's life and trajectory. I got to take it. So I understand the LIV Tour guys, even if I don't like it. That being said, I haven't watched a LIV Tour event. Not one. I have not watched a single LIV Tour event since the inception of this organization. I have not watched a single LIV Tour event. I watch the LIV guys when they play in the majors, and I don't have a choice. I'm struggling right now because I want to watch this.
Do you not have the CW?
It is not about a lack of ability, but a complete and total lack of desire to watch LIV Tour. I've got no interest in watching LIV Tour events, giving them my eyeballs or my money. I do not want to assist in their ratings. I do not like them. I do not like them saying I am. I want no part of it. This I kind of do. I kind of want to see this because there's some, obviously Scotty Scheffler is the best player on planet Earth. Rory McIlroy is one of them, but he just can't win in majors. Is this an opportunity for Rory to find the stroke a little bit? Bryson DeChambeau, as I have talked about, has done perhaps the greatest PR revamp in the history of sports. And Brooks Koepka is a dog when he's playing in events like this. I want to watch the hell out of this, but also not support the LIV Tour at all. And I don't know if that's possible. I am going to have to pick. Do I watch maybe the most exciting non-tournament golf thing that has been done in years and give eyeballs to a LIV Tour event? Or do I not watch one of the most exciting golf things that's happened in years, but not help the LIV Tour? I don't know. It is a general internal conflict I am suffering.
Do you watch a movie if the movie is touted as being really good, but there's one actor you don't like?
I think there is a difference. If the actor was known for butchering members of the media, literally, I'd probably feel a little bit different than I don't like his politics. There's a lot of actors whose politics I don't like, and I don't care. I don't care. There's a lot of politics that you and I are very different on, but I don't care.
A lot of.
All of them. It's all of them. It's all of them. But I don't care. I don't care because we're talking about sports, not that. The Live Tour is a hell of a lot different. It is one thing for Lonzo and I to have dramatic differences on a political stance. It's another for Lonzo to murder people. That's kind of where I fall apart, is the murder.
Why it had to be me? Why couldn't it have been you?
Lonzo wouldn't like me if I murdered people.
There we go.
All right?
That works out better
if
for
either
me.
one of us murdered people and it was open in public, we probably wouldn't get along. It's just a guess.
More than likely.
It's the murder.
Yeah, it's probably would be the murder, yes.
Finally, item number 3. Now, I'm going to do this one very quickly because it comes in 3 parts. Ladies and gentlemen, the NFL starts tonight, 8:20. We are going to have a showdown in the AFC between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs, a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game and a potential preview of this year's AFC Championship game. 3 news stories out of the NFL that we're going to knock out wango, bango, bango on the way out. Number 1, Davante Adams, very unhappy, issued a statement yesterday saying that he is completely happy in Las Vegas, Nevada. There's a rumor going around that has it was started by Deshaun Jackson on Deshaun's podcast that Davante Adams is unhappy in Las Vegas. And there's a big problem there. There's a lot of people believe right now that the Raiders are in trouble because if they make it to week 4, 5, 6, 7 and Davante Adams ain't getting his, Davante Adams might force his way out. And if he does, the Raiders implode because that's about all they got. That and a kid by the name of Brock Bowers, which if you want a long shot rookie of the year dark horse, Brock Bowers might be that guy. We'll come back to that a little bit later on. I think Brock Bowers is going to have a better year than Sam Laporta had this year. That's how good that cat's going to be. Put that to the side. Davante said, quote, at the end of the day, the facts are the facts, and that is not a fact. I've probably spoken to Deshaun Jackson maybe 3 or 4 times in my life, and I never had a conversation with him about this ever, and I put that on my kids. I've never spoken to him about anything, end quote. He went on to say, if it ain't from the horse's mouth, it's probably bull. I'm really interested in this story for 2 reasons. Number 1, because I'm always interested by watching a football team implode. I'm sorry, even when it's my own.
I watched his comments on TV this morning, and I believe him.
So do I.
Yeah,
so do I. Just so we're clear.
Yeah, I think it's another case where that guy looks unhappy. Let me say he looks unhappy on my podcast, so people listen to it.
I agree. And the second story here as we finish up the water cooler cheat sheet, the Bengals put out a very positive message to Cincinnati fans yesterday. Jamar Chase participated in the first official practice of game week as the Bengals get set to take on the Patriots this Sunday. Chase has been limited in practice since was resuming his hold-in amidst a contract dispute. He wants a big-time extension from the Bengals, as does fellow wide receiver T. Higgins, who both walked out of practice. But yesterday, Jamar and Higgins both made their way onto the field in shoulder pads and helmets and participated. Joey B said, we need these guys to be the best we need these guys for us to be the best version of ourselves. If you have Jamar Chase in a fantasy league, it is now on you to decide if you want to risk putting him in the lineup in week 1. But it does look like Jamar Chase will be a go this week for the Bengals. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about the transfer portal for a very long time. And today's a big validate Rob Brown kind of day. You know, I like it when people on the national level repeat takes that I have had in days or weeks or months or years gone by. And there's another big one. One of the biggest names in college football right now, who said on his show yesterday something that I've been saying on my show for, well, the entire time the transfer portal has existed. And it has to do with Florida State, with Mike Norvell, with Texas, with Alabama, and yes, with the Clemson Tigers. I'm going to tell you what my take was. I'm going to validate it with a take from a major talking head, and we're going to break it down next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, quick live, and we're back. Stay right there for me, please, and thank you. Get it, bowels? Like his guts? Although he didn't. Well, I mean, I guess technically they decked the floor with the bowels of Gruber because there's no way he fell off Nakatomi Tower and didn't explode when he hit the
It's
bottom.
not really the floor. It's like the driveway, I guess.
Trey said, why does Gambit wear that thing on his head? Because it looks cool, Trey, just like most things that comic book superheroes wear. I don't actually know that there's any canon reason other than it was an artistic choice by the original artist, and it looks dope. Also, if you haven't watched X-Men 97 yet, don't go to work today. Stay home and watch it. It's great.
You probably should go to work and, and not
skip
get
work.
in trouble.
Call in sick, stay home, binge X-Men 97 because it's spectacular. I have an immediate apology and retraction that I must make right this very second. And I must do so because if I am going to continue to stand on the principles of journalistic and editorial, what's the word I'm looking for here? Integrity, then I must make sure I get it right. So I'm going to do that now. I said earlier, Ludacris throwing out the first pitch. Did you find it, by the way? Did you get a chance to see it?
I didn't see it. It wasn't as, he had the overhand. The arm thing is cool.
The arm thing, so, and you got to keep in mind, those fingers don't work. So it literally was just
right. He
had to push it.
Yeah, he had to roll it off the
and
thing.
And for what it was,
no.
50 Cent hit a guy on first base somehow.
Listen, I agree. It went where he wanted it to go.
It's pretty good.
I expect a little more velocity, but it's got to be hard to do with that big old.
Oh, for sure.
And that arm looks awesome.
It looks
cool, it looks
right?
natural, which is weird.
However, the retraction and apology I must make is that it was not for the song that I said it was for. Instead, it was for the song Get Back. Why you all up in my ear talking a whole bunch of that I ain't trying to hear? Get back. You don't know me like that. That song was like an anthem for young Rob Brown. So that's my bad, Luda. That's on me. My fault.
I think I and everyone else appreciate your honesty.
I'm playing around, make one false move, and I take you down. Get back. You don't know me like that. Anthem for a young Rob Brown.
Hitting the tone there with much rhythm. Way to go, dude.
Dude, listen, there's a reason. I'm the hip-hop voice in the band, all right? You want a hip hop song in the band? You want a rap song in the band? Rob Brown does it. He's up front.
I've seen video of it. You do a fine job.
And it's greatness. It's not fine. It's excellent. All right.
You're not Eminem, but
no.
But you're okay. I mean, you're not the Beastie Boys, but you're pretty good.
I gotta tell you, like, pretty close. Pretty close. I feel like if somebody made a new age Beastie Boys, I'm in contention to be up front.
See, I don't know.
I'm in contention.
Are you better than Vanilla Ice?
I would put me on the level with Vanilla Ice because we do Vanilla Ice, and I nail it, and we do it faster than he does it. For the record, and I nail it every time. Just saying. All right, let's get to.
Hey, Keegan says you're more Skittles than Eminem. Who's Skittles?
Listen.
Oh, that's Candy. He's more okay. I thought Skittles was actually a rapper. My bad.
If Keegan wasn't officiating my wedding in like 16 days, I would have words right now. All right, but I'm not going to. And I can't because his college football team put up 73 points this weekend. So Keegan's feeling himself. Auburn's back, baby. You know who's not back? Florida State University. They're not back. They're bad. All right.
It was a weird transition, but
yeah, but
right.
I kind of nailed it.
You're right. They're pretty bad.
I kind of nailed it. I'm gonna do two things here. Number one, I'm gonna give you something that Bruce Feldman said in an interview yesterday because it's very interesting, and then I'm gonna take that into the next segment and I'm gonna make it about college football as a whole. Pray tell how? Don't worry, I'm gonna tell you. One of the things that was supposed to be a strength for Florida State this year was the defensive line. They were supposed to have one of the best defensive lines in college football. As a matter of fact, during college football game day on Saturday, I don't remember exactly which talking head it was on that show that said it, but one of them said coming into this that this defensive line for Florida State was expected to have 2 or 3 NFL players on it and to be one of the best in the country. Instead, they have been carved by both the Georgia Tech Rambling Wreck and the Eagles of Basting College. Carved by the run game of those two schools. In fact, in the last game, if I recall correctly, BC racked up well north of 200 rushing yards while Florida State did not get to 70. Carved in the game. Well, that defensive line that Florida State has put together, a number of them, including Patrick Payton, they threatened the portal. And Florida State, as most schools are doing right now and are allowed to do, Florida State helped them work the portal to get them a dollar bill, y'all, amount that they decided was worth staying in Tallahassee for. How much, you might ask? Well, here is Bruce Feldman to tell you.
Well, as Florida State, they're always going to be talented situations, but people expected them to at least have a upper level defense, and it's just been the exact opposite of that.
Two of those guys up front. Patrick Payton was a defensive end who was a good player last year. Joshua Frazier was a very good inside defensive tackle. Then they added Marvin Jones Jr., obviously a big name from Georgia, and Darrell Jackson, a big freaky athlete who was like a number 5 on our freaks list. That front four, from what I'm told, according to the source, is making almost $2 million combined for those 4 guys in NIL. That's a big investment, in that group.
$2 million for 4 players in NIL money. Now, if this was a business, great one, Rob Brown would be more than willing to say they're overpaid by about $2 million.
What has happened to my college football?
$2 million for 4 players who are getting absolutely and entirely carved right now.
Hey, that's capitalism. People get hired all the time and they're not good at their job. And unfortunately, some of those people who get hired, they still stay at their job, even though they're not good at the job, because the higher ups think, okay, I didn't make a mistake. These people are going to be as good as I think they're going to be down the road. And then sometimes they aren't.
$2 million. Now, as you heard Feldman and I think it was Wetzel, I'm not sure who the other voice was, and that's on me and I apologize. But you heard him say, you're looking at 4 players, 4 across the defensive line. 3 of them were expected to be NFL draft picks, like upper level, like first 3 rounds NFL draft picks. The other, a transfer in, was expected to join their ranks and to be very, very good and be working in that direction. And they stink across the defensive line. Not they're bad, not they're mediocre, they stink. They have been getting wrecked. And Florida State has arranged $2 million in NIL fees. Now, you might look at that if you're looking at it through an NFL lens, right? Maybe an NFL lens. You're looking at that and you're going, man, if it's 4 NFL players, that's a pretty good deal, right? If somebody put together a full NFL defensive line that was expected to be as good as Florida State's defensive line was, and they got that as a $2 million salary cap, that general manager would be GM of the century. Florida State got it for $2 million. In the scope of a Power 4, blue blood, major school, that's pretty good, to be honest with you, okay? But they stink. They ain't worth it, or at least they're not yet. We'll see if maybe they gel and figure it out. But there is a conversation that I've been having on this show and this station since the transfer portal went into effect. And it's this: not using the portal is not an option. Solely using the portal is not an option. I have said, and if you've been listening to this show, if you're a member of the Armada and you've been paying attention at all, you are aware that Rob Brown has been saying for a very, very long time, the portal is meant to supplement your recruiting, not replace it. And Florida State has tried to replace its recruiting with the portal.
Didn't they do that last year successfully, though?
They did. And you will recall that I said last year and this offseason and coming into this year when I told you there is no world that Florida State is as good this year as it was last year. Florida State last year was the exception, not the rule. That's why, even though Ole Miss had a wonderful year, I don't know if Ole Miss is going to join Florida State as the exception, not the rule. Because they really haven't had the competition Ole Miss played, with all due respect to our Furman Paladins. All due respect. I love the program. I love the people. They're incredible. Cannot wait. This Saturday, I'll be at Timmons for that game Saturday night. Okay? All due respect in the world, Furman ain't Georgia Tech. Furman ain't Boston College. All right? So I'm interested to see Ole Miss. But 2023 Florida State was the exception, not the rule. You cannot use the portal to replace recruiting. You must use it as supplemental to your recruiting. And I want to talk more about that in the next segment, because I'm not the only one that has made that point. Another major talking head has echoed what I have been saying for a very, very long time. And I'm going to let them say the same thing to you that I've been saying to you for a couple of years now when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
So what we've learned from the end of that is Rob considers himself a major talking head.
No, I don't.
You said
That's
another
why
major talking
That's
head.
why I'm playing other talking heads, because I ain't one.
I mean, you basically said that you're a talking head.
Once again, Lonzo infers
Can I do
what I
requests?
said. Can you do request?
If you're a talking head, we'd like to hear burning down the house.
Burning down the house.
Maybe once in a lifetime, and then you can reenact the video and do this a lot.
Watch out. Dun dun. So somebody took the other day, it was a very short clip, but somebody on Instagram took how when the synchronized swim teams come out during the Olympics, how they all come out and they kind of do that walk like that until they get in their position. They took the clip of one of those and they started playing a bunch of the clips of the synchronized swimming teams walking out over Robert Palmer. It was really funny.
Thank you for getting the reference, Trey. It was out in the 80s, even though he does play a lot of that stuff. He probably never saw that video. I would just say same as it ever was. Did you watch the Cajun commercial?
Oh, that's right. Can you cue me real quick? Do we have time?
Yeah, let's risk it. Why not? I ain't been in trouble enough this week. Running out of time. I mean, well, you got a minute.
It's only 30 seconds.
This is just a flat old tater chip. It's just flat. It's just tater. It's just an old chip, but not this. Is a new Cajun spice ruffle potato chip. Look at them ridges full of cayenne pepper, onion, garlic.
Onion.
Oh, this is Cajun spice. Ain't nothing flat about it.
Try new Cajun Spice Ruffles brand potato chips with a feisty, spicy bite in every crunch. It's the new taste that won't leave you flat.
Oh, boy, they want to munch out guarantee.
Thank you. That's the key. They wanted to munch out guarantee.
Right. We won't put it on the stream. Some point I'm playing that commercial. Some point I'm playing that and we're responding to it. If only the last 5 seconds.
Well, yeah.
But he literally hits you with the gambit. Hoo-wee! That's a thing.
They wanted to munch, I guarantee, was something that, you know, catchphrases from movies, catchphrases from commercials. All my friends were doing that when that came out. Yes.
I have family members who do that unironically because that's just a thing you say. I guarantee. I promise you I've said it on the air before because I say it all the time. That's from the fan. I guarantee. It is the award-winning Rob Brown Show. In fact, we can even tell you specifically which awards. The three-time South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sports Talk Radio Show of the Year is the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. So in the last segment, we played for you some audio from Bruce Feldman. Feldman claims that the defensive line for Florida State, a defensive line that was expected to be one of, if not the best in the country this year, is getting paid a collective $2 million in name, image, and likeness money. That's for a defensive line that has been, I don't know how else to put it. The technical term is bad at football. They have been absolutely shredded by both the Georgia Tech and Boston College run games. That's not supposed to happen. Well, I took you back to something that I have been saying for a very, very, very long time. And that something is that the portal must be used supplementally. It must be used to enhance your recruiting classes, not replace them. And I feel as if there are some schools, and I absolutely put the Florida State University Seminoles on this list. There are absolutely some schools that are trying to replace recruiting with this. See, this is why the slaps against Dabo aren't for thinking that the portal should be supplemental. It's for just refusing to use it in order to supplement the spots where you have holes. Would anyone, even the most diehard of Clemson fans, would anybody argue with me right now if I said there are spots on the field amongst the starting 22 where Clemson has holes? Is anybody going to argue against me and say that there aren't weak spots? So the thought would be the portal, not to replace your recruiting, but to supplement spots where your recruiting maybe didn't go the way that you wanted to. And one of the other things that I have said over and over is that the reason the portal must be supplemental is because you are bringing in guys that have one of two dangers to them. Either number one, they are bag chasers, and there are bag chasers in college football, right? They are bag chasers. And a bag chaser does not care about the decal on the side of the helmet or the name on the front of the jersey. They care about the name on the back. Now, I don't fault them for that because, again, I don't hate the player. I hate the game, but I also recognize that as I said yesterday with Lenora Sellers, even if a guy's making mistakes, I'll take a guy who has guts and heart and plays the game, okay? That doesn't mean there aren't some guys maybe hate, maybe don't care at all, but they're just so damn good at what they do that you got to let them do it. I know guys in my industry that don't particularly love doing sports talk radio, but they're just inherently so good at it, and they get paid a lot of money to do it that they just go through it like anybody else. Guys, some people, and I know that this sucks for a lot of you to learn, some people don't like what they do for a living, but it provides a living, and so they keep on doing it. College football players, as I have said with everything else that I've made an argument for the portal over the years, are the same. 18-year-old kids, yeah, they're dumb, but they ain't all that different from 24, and that ain't all that different from 29, and that ain't all that different from 35 and 40 and 60. Some people don't love what they do, but they do love the benefits they get from doing it. And there will be portal guys in that you go, yeah, I know that you don't love XYZ State University. I know that you don't love the fighting whatever we are. I know you just love getting paid, but you are so good at what you do that I am willing to let you do it for us. And then there are going to be guys who go in the portal because something changed at their old school. I'll give you one right out of the gate. I don't think DJ Uiagalelei left Oregon State to chase the bag elsewhere. Do I think he got the bag? Yes, I do. But I don't think he left to chase the bag. I think he left because the entire Oregon State coaching staff left, and they got left in the Pac-2, which is dead now. And that school may not have a football program. So he took off. Did he get the bag? Yes, he absolutely did. Is that the reason he left? I don't think so. Could be wrong. We'll see. The second problem that you have with a lot of these guys is, especially if they were ingrained at another school and then transferred out, they have a different culture than you do. And if they spend all this time in this culture at this school and then you bring them over here, there is no guarantee that they are going to auto fit into your culture. What works at Georgia doesn't necessarily work at Florida State. What works at Oregon State doesn't necessarily work at Clemson, and vice versa. So you have a big risk that a guy you take from over here and drop him over there is not going to click with the coach, with the culture, with the teammates, with the school, whatever, with the student body. There's no guarantee that you take this guy and you drop him over here and he's going to be able to produce the same. All of those are reasons that I have said over and over The portal is supplemental. Well, I am pleased to tell you that somebody I very much like, a guy whom I watch every week when he does his college football themed show, is Josh Pate. Pate State the Freights. All right. I like Josh Pate. I'm happy Josh Pate got his big upgrade to his show because he's, to me, one of the best voices in college football. Josh Pate was talking yesterday on his show about Florida State, was talking yesterday about the situation the Noles found themselves in. And he said, well, everything that I've been saying. I got 2 clips for you. Here's the first one, which is the danger of living in the portal for the Noles and everybody else.
In general, I'd agree with that. But I also think he's probably looking around saying, I thought I had something on this team. I thought the DNA of this team was one thing and it's not. And it's a problem that I wasn't aware of that. But it makes sense because these guys are not Florida State. These guys are somewhat Florida State, and then they're mercenaries who just kind of landed at Florida State, but they didn't buy Florida State. Like that's the same thing that you're looking at with Texas right now. I have talked to some folks at Texas, and they portal guys in. Texas has been really good in the portal, but ultimately they don't want to talk about the portal at Texas. They don't want to talk about the portal at Bama. They don't want to talk about the portal at Georgia. They use it. They'd be dumb not to. But it's a supplement tool. They sell Texas. They sell Alabama. They sell Georgia. Ohio State sells Ohio State because the nucleus of your roster has to be made up of kids that out of high school, in some cases with bigger offers in the NIL market, chose you because you're a fit for them. They bought you. They bought the program, the vision you sold them. Not enough of Florida State is made up of that kind of player right now.
Gosh. Where have you heard that before? Literally since the portal started. Supplemental, not replacement for recruiting, because the core of your team must be made of guys who want to be the core of your team. Everything Pate said, I've been saying. He's spot on. He's spot on. The guys who you make up the core of your team with must be guys who want to be the core of your team. It's not an option. If you bring in a bunch of guys from all these other different places, and the majority of them are guys who are coming from the portal, especially if they are guys who are in the portal and you know it's because they want the bag. Because here's the thing, as I pointed out, there will be a significant number of guys in the portal who truly want out of their old program. See, there's always been that in college football. There have always been guys who got a scholarship to a school because they got sold a false bill of goods. Oh, we got playing time for you. Oh, you're going to get this and that special treatment, and you're going to be able to, and then they get there and none of that's true. Or they get there and they're there as a freshman and they're promised 1 year as a freshman, you're going to be starting as a sophomore. And then what do you know? The next great whatever comes in the next year as a freshman. And all of a sudden it goes from you're going to be playing as a sophomore to you're backing up that freshman because he's better than you. They don't want to be there anymore. They aren't being given what they told they were going to get. So they want out. There will be guys in the portal who genuinely want out and may genuinely buy into you as their new school out of the portal. And this is why the portal is not a bad thing. There will be guys that you can get out of the portal who will come to your school and 100% buy in. I don't think the guys in the Florida State defensive line are those guys. I think they are a unit of guys who absolutely are there to get the bag and to prepare for the NFL. And Mike Norvell built a core in Tallahassee out of those type of guys. They're not bought into Florida State. They're bought into NIL, and they happen to get the biggest bag at Florida State. It is a danger. Using the portal is going to be difficult. You make $11 million a year. Figure it out. Here's what Josh had to say about that aspect of the portal.
Mike Norvell's not an idiot. Mike Norvell, I think, realizes that. The difference is I could go on a message board right now and I could just say that. Mike Norvell could realize the same thing, but the difference is it takes months and months and a couple of years to actually put that in practice. And even if you realize it, you've got to go land the kids. You got to have to compete against Miami and to compete against the other big programs in the South that you're going to recruit heads up against for athletes. It takes more than just being committed to recruiting against them because there are a lot of programs that are committed that get their head beat in recruiting. You got to be more than committed. You got to be really good at it. That's what we got to figure out. That's what we got to figure out. So,
yes, yeah, that's it. That's it. You have got to figure out how to sell your school to the high school recruits, how to pitch them on stuff that makes them want to come there, and then fill in the gaps out of the portal. And the other element is when you talk to the guys coming out of the portal, you better do your best to either make sure that they are so good at what they do that even if they're not bought in, they're just so far and away the best at that thing that it's worth letting them be the locker room cancer, right? There have been some guys like Terrell Owens in the NFL. We all know what T.O. was in the locker room. We know he was what he was everywhere he went, but T.O. was such a freak wide receiver that a lot of NFL teams let him get away with it because what he added on the football field was greater than what he subtracted off of it. That's the kind of guy, if those aren't the culture, that's the kind of guy that you have to get out of the portal. Not just another defensive tackle. You got to get excellent, like Warren Sapp caliber guys, because then what they will add to your team on the field is worth what they do not add in the locker room. But that has got to be a supplemental thing, not your primary source of talent. And you are learning that lesson, something I have been trying to tell you all since the inception of the portal. You are watching it play out in real time in Tallahassee. Florida State last year, they hit on something. Because Jordan Travis, who, by the way, had been at Florida State for a couple of years, he was fully bought in. Keon Coleman, who came down from Michigan State, the culture at Michigan State, that was a culture guy. He did not like it there. So he left. He did not get what he was told he was going to get, so he left. He came down, he bought into Florida State. Johnny Wilson came over from Arizona State. He came there because he bought into Mike Norvell. Trey Benson came there because he bought into Norvell, and it very much showed on the football field. But the guys that are there now, and I'm leaning on the defensive line specifically because that's the spot where those guys were threatening to go into the portal. And I'll tell you this, if I was a head coach, I would have one portal rule. If you come to me and say, Coach, I'm going in the portal, bye-bye. Bye-bye. I hope you land somewhere because you're not coming back. You understand? I don't care if you're Terrell Owens. If you come to me and you threaten me, saying, Coach, I'm going in the portal to see if I can get the bag. Well, I hope you do, buddy, because you ain't coming back here. Remember, if they go in the portal, there's no obligation for the coach to welcome them back. The team can say, okay, goodbye, you're done here. Revoke the scholarship, you're out. And if there was a Patrick Payton on my team and I was coaching Florida State, I don't care if he's a freak athlete and an NFL top 2 draft pick. If there's a guy who came to me and said, Coach, I'm going to go in the portal and see if I can get the bag, well, I hope you find it because you're gone. Because not only are you not adding anything in my locker room, but now I know that you're actually anti my team. You're not just not bought in. You're actively bought out at that point, right? So you better be damn careful of the guys you're bringing in from the portal to make sure as much as you can that they are actually bought into your program, or they are so damn good that what they add on the field is greater than what they don't add off it. And if I got a guy going out, like half of Florida State's defensive line, saying, Coach, I'm going to the portal to see if I can find the bag, I hope you find it because you don't have a roster spot in here anymore. With adult opportunity, that is the ability to go into the portal, comes adult consequences based on the adult decisions that you make. And if you as a player decide that you want to take the adult decision to go in the portal and evaluate your options, you got to understand there may be consequences to that. There may be consequences to that action, and those consequences may not be pretty. Because what happens if you go in the portal? Now, a guy like a Pat Payton, he's going to land somewhere. Somebody's going to take him. He's too good not to, right? It's just like every time an NFL player gets arrested, and we all go, oh, you got to kick that guy off the team. There's always another NFL team that signs that guy to a contract 3 days later, and they put out that stupid press release that goes, well, we here at the so-and-so's, we believe in second chances. We believe that he is truly apologetic for the actions, and we believe he's going to be a better person and teammate. Screw that, right? It's kind of the same thing. So I like what Pate has said here because it's what I've been saying the whole time. If you go in the portal, if you come out of the portal, there's consequences for everybody. And again, same thing for the coaches, same thing for the teams. There's consequences for your usage of the portal in or out. If you bring in a bunch of guys from the portal to make up the core of your team and you get it wrong, and those guys are not guys that you can make up the core of a team with, you know what happens to you? You go 0-2 against Georgia Tech and Boston College. Your season ends before it began. You miss the playoffs a year after you went 13-0 and win the conference. That's what happens to you. There's consequences for everybody, not just the kids in the portal, but for the schools too. And Mike Norvell and the Florida State Seminoles are paying those consequences right now. Adult decisions, adult opportunities, adult consequences. And now for adult entertainment, Lonzo Ridza Sports Flash.
Dude, you gotta stop. Charlie Morton earned his 8th win of the season with a 5-inning, 2-run, 8-strikeout performance for the Atlanta Braves and a 3-0 win over Colorado. Atlanta attempts the sweep tonight, just a half game up on the Mets for the final wildcard spot. The Chicago Cubs have been on a roll, winning 6 of their last 8 to keep them in striking distance of the final wild card spot. Yesterday, they helped their cause. It's the adult thing. So get me with a combined no-hitter of Pittsburgh Pirates. The NFL season kicks off tonight at 8 o'clock as the reigning defending undisputed champs, Kansas City Chiefs, take on the Baltimore Ravens, followed by Green Bay versus Philly from Brazil tomorrow night, and a full slate of games on Sunday. Make sure you tune in this Saturday at 4:30 as Furman Paladins take on the Charleston Southern Buccaneers. It's Furman versus Charleston Southern right here on your home for Paladins football, the Fan, Upstate. He legitimately got me with that one. Pretty sure, Wesley, I don't have the voice for that. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Rob will probably know more than me.
There was a guy a long time ago. I don't know if he still does it. I don't even remember where he did it. But there was a guy who did play-by-play on adult entertainment videos.
Mm-hmm.
And they were freaking hilarious. He's like, look at the athletic prowess. That man is upside down. Like, it was hysterical. But he did it in like a traditional old school football announcer voice. Freaking hysterical.
By the way, I sent you a couple of things on Twitter. The last thing for sure you've got to look at. The other ones are football related.
Okay. All right. We're going to step away for just a minute so I can give Alonzo a phone number for our interview. We will be right back. right, dudes and dudettes, thanks for hanging in there. Should I start CJ Stroud or Lamar Jackson? Are we going to have a Rob Brown Fantasy Island segment and talk fantasy football? You know what? We probably should because I'm playing fantasy football this year for the first time in almost a decade.
Out the peer pressure. Can't, I mean, one Rob, we're all doing it. Why aren't you doing it? You're so
that's
boring.
exactly what happened.
You're so lame.
The guys at the Swamp Rabbits basically came to me and were like, we need another dude. And if you don't do it, you're a coward. And it's embarrassing how much that not always does, but can still work on me.
I'll say, I'm putting that one in my back pocket.
Not always. I was also at a tailgate this past Saturday for college football when I was iced by a couple of the guys and told them absolutely not. I'm not drinking that bottle of sugar that you call the Smirnoff Ice, and resisted the.
I thought you literally got ice poured on you.
No,
Okay.
so icing somebody is when you present to them at a very random time a Smirnoff Ice, and the game is, it's kind of like the circle game. If they touch it before they look directly at it, you have to do it. And if you look at it before you touch it, you have to do it. But you have to drop to a knee and chug the whole Smirnoff Ice on the spot.
He'll never know if I actually looked or not when he did that.
It's like the circle game. You know.
I don't.
You know.
I do not.
I know you know because I did this and your eyes automatically went up.
Well, yeah, because obviously you're trying to goad me into doing something. I don't battle peer pressure.
The third hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo with you on a not just any old Thursday morning. We've had a lot of Thursdays in 2024, but this Thursday is special, my friends, because in 12 hours and some change, you and me and Lonzo and everybody are going to be sitting on couches and love chairs and lawn chairs and blankets and who knows what other surfaces around the upstate of South Carolina and watching a little NFL football. The Ravens and the Chiefs, I know. I could not agree more. A rematch of last year's AFC Championship game, potentially a preview of this year's AFC Championship game takes place this evening, and it matters. And as I've said a couple of times, remember, this game is actually really big. This is actually one of the biggest games of the year because the winner of this game is going to have a full one-game advantage over the other team for whomst gets to host the AFC Championship game. If you win this game and you end up with identical records at the end of the year, the winner of this game could very well host the AFC Championship game against the loser of this game. And if you're Lamar Jackson, you know how big that is. Mahomes has already come into your house and beat you a couple of times. You can't go to his house and beat him, especially not playoff Pat, because that's a different breed of cat. You know where I'm at? Kind of nailed that. So we'll talk some NFL football. Lonzo and I later in this hour will give you our projections, predictions, and prognostications for the AFC and the NFC West. Yes, we are both going with the Chiefs, but who do we pick in the NFC West? We'll give you that full breakdown later on in the hour. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy and pleased to welcome to the show for the first of many times making her Rob Brown Show debut. She is a beat writer who covers the Gamecocks of South Carolina for the Greenville News. Joining us now on the show, Miss Lulu Kesson joins us. Lulu, good morning. Welcome to the show. Super glad to have you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
We're pumped to have you. Glad to have you to talk a little Gamecock football. First off, before we get to that, let's get the niceties out of the way. How are you enjoying Columbia? How are you enjoying South Carolina? How are you enjoying covering the team so far?
I'm loving it. It's truly so different moving here from Massachusetts. My first Columbia summer, definitely hot. It gets a lot hotter down here than it does in Massachusetts, but I'm loving every minute of working around this team and getting to know these athletes and covering these coaches. So it's been a blast.
As a fellow transfer member of the college football deep state media, Lulu, let me go ahead and break the bad news. It somehow gets worse every year. I can't explain it. As hot as you think it was next year or this year, it'll be hotter next year and hotter the year after that. it just is what it is. Welcome to the upstate.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It's just, I'll get used to it, but it's never going to get cooler.
Nope. All right, Lulu Kessin joining us here. She covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News. Lulu, let's dive right in, and I'll ask the open-ended question up front. South Carolina skates by Old Dominion out of the Sun Belt last week. Lonzo and I butted heads on this. I said, yeah, it's a win. Every win's an important win, especially when you think you're fighting for bowl eligibility. But to me, it felt like kind of felt like a letdown. It kind of felt like I was expecting. I mean, you're a 21-point favorite coming into this. I kind of felt like it was going to be a performance that Shane's guys were going to show that, yeah, maybe we're not Georgia, but we put a little something together. Lonzo, on the other hand, has been riding the, hey, every win's a big win. Celebrate these wins. There's a lot of good here. Just your overall opinion on week one's performance against Old Dominion.
Yeah, I think both of those points and perspectives are valid. Should they have won by a lot more than they did? Yes. I think Shane Beamer was probably the first to say that. In his post-game press conference, he didn't directly say, hey, we should have won by more, because I do think he's very careful to compliment Old Dominion. And don't get me wrong, they play a tricky defense. They have like a 3 safety defense, which makes it sort of hard with the run game. But at the same time, I do think expectations for Lenora Sellers in the offense were a bit high. Somewhat valid, I guess. It's a little tricky. Lenoris, when he played as a true freshman, especially that like 50-yard touchdown he had against Furman, like you see that and you expect him to nail his receivers downfield every single time when he's actually the starting quarterback. And obviously he didn't do that. So I think in a sense, a win is a win. I don't think game ones really in any sport should be a blanket statement for the season, especially this year with a team like South Carolina, where they might be fighting for wins late in the season, just given the strength of schedule and somewhat of the rebuilding year or kind of transformative year they're having. But I think in general, looking at this win and looking at how they played against Old Dominion, it was more alarming, I think, the lack of chemistry in some ways than necessarily the fact that they only won by, I think the final is 23-19. So, yes, they barely got by a Sun Belt team week one, but I definitely think that it's going to look like a different team by week 4, 5, or 6.
Talk to me about Lenoris, because I did turn around yesterday on the show, Lulu, and say there's really 2 or 3 plays in this game that I think are the difference between a 23-19 game and maybe like a 30-12 game. A couple of them were drops from the wide receivers. And I know Shane either yesterday or Tuesday in a presser said, hey, look, we're gelling as a wide receiver room. It's a young wide receiver room. We got to get him on the same page with a QB who is officially QB1 for the first time. And this was game 1. Can you talk to me a little bit about the connection between Lenoris and the wide receivers? Do you expect that it is one that is going to get better? Do you expect the drops to decrease? Or do you think that that's something that Carolina fans are going to see maybe be a bugaboo throughout the year?
Yeah, so that was sort of my main question for Beamer and offensive coordinator Dowell Loggins this week. I think it's very valid as coaches to say a lot of those drop passes or kind of overthrown passes from Lenoris had to do with, chemistry. They're young. They're getting used to each other. I mean, there was like 5 transfer wide receivers this year for South Carolina. 1 has since left and went back to Louisville. But regardless, it's sort of like valid to point your finger and say, oh, we need to gel. But at the same time, that isn't something that can happen overnight. So I do think to a degree fans have to expect that the wide receivers aren't going to magically wake up on Saturday and feel 100% confident and comfortable with Lenoris. And I think it takes time. I asked Lenoris how he does kind of grow chemistry between his receivers. And he said, like, just, doing whatever you can after practice, like getting extra snaps against the defense. And again, I think that's all valid. But my biggest takeaway and sort of concern from that was if Beamer is going to continue to play 9 wide receivers game, like he's saying, or rotating a bunch, how does he expect Lenoris to get comfortable? Because I do think, yeah, you have to, if you're a quarterback, you have to be able to play with everyone and anyone who might be in the game at a given time. But I sort of wrote about this week how maybe pointing to 1 to 3 receivers and really working on, okay, they had the best game against Old Dominion. Going into Kentucky, how can we elevate them in the sense that the growth is rapid between sellers? Like Trey Jacobs had the most receiving yards by far. So I'm sort of like, he looked the best in game 1. Why don't you kind of focus on that going forward? You don't need to name him number 1 for the rest of the season. But I do think in terms of gelling together and getting Lenoris comfortable, he can't expect 9 receivers a game. He can't expect to magically gel with all of his teammates right away. And I think being a little bit more hyper-focused on a couple wide receivers that outshined the others in game 1 won't necessarily hurt them going forward.
We are talking with Lulu Kesson. She works for the Greenville News covering the South Carolina Gamecocks athletic department. There was another clip, Lulu, that came out of that Shane Beamer discussion where he was talking about the wide receivers gelling and all that. And then he said, I told the team we've got 88 days until the Clemson game. And a lot of people cut that clip off at that moment, but he went on to explain what he meant was there's only 88 days left in college football. It's not like you've got 2-3 months to allow this team to gel. Shane's taken a little heat, a lot of Carolina fans, and I will absolutely blame it on some media members who are less ethical and good at their job than you are, Lulu, that have kind of massaged that clip to make it look as if Shane is just saying, hey, we care about the Clemson game and nothing else. I don't think that's true. I think he went on to explain himself pretty well. But from your perspective and your interaction with Shane leading up to the game against Old Dominion, leading out of the game towards this weekend at Kentucky, can you kind of give us your insight as to the attitude, the mentality of Shane Beamer trying to develop this team as we get ready for the SEC opener this weekend?
Totally. And I'll preface it by saying to everyone listening who might pull up receipts from like Beamer 3 years ago, I've only been here since April. I'm still learning kind of how he handles things. That being said, I did see somewhat of anger and a little bit of a fire after the Old Dominion game. And it did seem like he was genuinely really disappointed. And I would say throughout preseason, we didn't, as media, we don't have a ton of access to practices, and we didn't have a lot this year. So it was difficult to really, like, we weren't necessarily seeing Beamer rip his players' heads off after they made a mistake. And I can't sit there and be like, okay, good, he holds them accountable. I don't know in that sense. So a lot of preseason practice was a little bit of sunshine and rainbows, just media seeing it through the lens of, okay, we're hearing what things are like through Beamer. Then we see Old Dominion and we see that game. And I think that Beamer's assessment that there was no execution, there was obviously a lack of chemistry and a lot of self-inflicted errors. I think that's very valid. And I do think that Beamer sort of continued to stand on that throughout his press conference on Tuesday. Yeah, I definitely would not have just taken that we're 88 days from Clemson clip. It's tricky because that's just naturally the last game on the schedule. And obviously there's a lot to say about the history of Clemson and South Carolina football. So that could have been twisted in any sense. But I do think Beamer on Tuesday was very clear that he was not pleased with his team. And he does, in a way, expect them to be a lot better. And quickly, I asked Dowell, like I said, about the chemistry. And he said, there's no secrets. There's no shortcuts. Like, the secret's in the dirt and it's hard work. He said they have to be an incredible practice team. And Dowell didn't think that the offense had a good practice before Old Dominion. And he did think that they were starting to have a better one this week. So the part of me wants to be like, hey, game ones are tough. And Beamer said, I think his direct quote was, game one stink. He said that a lot leading up to Old Dominion. And I think in a sense, you practice for a month, and maybe by the end of it, you're kind of like losing steam when maybe they should have been gaining steam. So it'll be interesting to see week 2, especially with it being Kentucky. But I do think Beamer was very clear that his expectations for this team are that they need to play better than they did week 1.
Talk to me a little bit about this Kentucky game. Again, I know you're kind of new to the area. Alonzo and I have been here and working on this show together for about 4 years now. And about 2.5 years ago, these two teams got together, and Mark Stoops went off a little bit and was talking about the concept of culture versus climate. And he said, we're trying to change the culture at Kentucky. And he very much singled out Shane, though not by name. He said, when you're dancing in the locker room and wearing funny glasses and making Instagram reels, that are comedy skits, that's changing the climate, not the culture. And I kind of think Shane took that a little personally. And then they came out and beat Kentucky in that next game. This is kind of developed almost into kind of like a minor rivalry game, if only between the coaches, not the teams themselves. But it also adds a little pressure, in my opinion, to win this game this Saturday. It is still going to be a game where South Carolina is going to have to play as close to flawlessly as they can get. What are your early impressions on South Carolina going to Lexington?
Yeah, so I caught up on the whole sunglass gate, as some of us media members call it, yesterday, and the whole thing with Beamer and Stoops and the hat and everything. And I have thoughts on that. But in terms of the actual game, it's tricky playing Kentucky this early. It's actually, I was looking through game notes yesterday. It's since, I know for sure since South Carolina joined the SEC that this is the earliest these two teams have ever played each other. Last year, I believe it was week 11. The year before, it was October 8th. So like a little bit more into the season. And I think that's an added layer. It's not only that both of each team's first conference game of the year, but it's normally that like late season must win game. And I think if it fell after South Carolina faces Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, it would be a much different story, but it's tricky. Like you said, Lenora Sellers and South Carolina as a whole, but particularly Lenora kind of has to be flawless, and that's a lot to ask from a true freshman week 2. But at the same time, he's in the position, and you do have to keep that high standard no matter what his age is. So it's tricky. Kentucky has some really good players on defense. Deion Walker, Shane Beamer referred to as a game wrecker. He's just everywhere on the field and is looking to absolutely disrupt your offensive scheme. So I think it'll be absolutely a highly competitive match, a highly competitive game, a showdown in Lexington, as I've heard it described, but it'll be tricky. It's sort of a must-win game for South Carolina, but at the same time, how much can you really say in week 2? And I think that depending on South Carolina and how they play, they might wish that game was a little bit later in the season when, like Shane is wishing, Lenoris was gelling better with his receivers. But again, who knows? Maybe it does happen overnight.
Lulu Kessin covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News. Last one, and then we'll let you go, Lulu. I have said a number of times, like, bowl eligibility to me is probably the standard expectation for South Carolina fans. They knew it was going to be a development year as much as they wanted to grow from last year, but 6 wins might be kind of the minimum, or else there may be some uncomfortable conversations around Shane Beamer next year. I have gone on the record and said, if they do not get a win against Kentucky, I don't think there is a path to 6 wins elsewhere because of the difficulty of schedule. Do you agree with that? And how important do you think this Kentucky game and getting a result for the Gamecocks is in the grand scheme of the 2024 season?
Yes, I do. I will go on the record and say that I agree there. I do think if South Carolina can't find a way to beat Kentucky, I do think that their path to 6 wins dwindles, and it's hard, and it's going to be a much different season if they don't come out with a win on Saturday. It won't be easy, and it's nothing like the stakes of Old Dominion, that's for sure. The expectations are different. They're the underdog in this matchup, but I do think Kentucky is a very telling win, and it's a very important game, I'll say, for the Gamecocks looking at the entire season.
Lulu Kessin covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News. She makes her Rob Brown Show debut today. She will be joining us moving forward on Thursdays at 8 a.m. We will do it through the rest of football season, into the basketball season, and around the calendar for as long as Lulu is willing to grace us with her presence. Phenomenal stuff, ma'am. Thank you very much. We are glad to have you here on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. Lulu Kessin from the Greenville News. Thank you so much for joining us. We got to run to a break. Winzo and I come back here in just a moment. We run through the audio blitz. I got some clips that we pulled off of social media over the past couple of days. Some of my favorite audio that I want to run for you and give a brief thought or two on each. And then we will wrap up the hour by making our predictions for the NFC and AFC West. That's coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
New line.
All right, guys, quick read. We're coming right back. Y'all stay right there for me, please. And thank you. say sincerely, I do not, Stephen, good morning, buddy. I don't hurt as much and as often as I did when I was almost 270 pounds. I still hurt sometimes by just existing.
That doesn't get better.
No, I didn't expect that it would.
Yeah.
For the record, catcher caught the ball in the air.
He
It
did.
didn't bounce.
He did.
That's for pushing the ball off of a giant movie effects arm and hand. It's pretty impressive. Lulu was good. That was her first like long form radio interview. She was good.
My silence doesn't mean that I disagreed. Yes, she was good. I had one of those monster migraines yesterday that just a little bit's hanging on, but it takes so much out of you that you're not quite there.
Yup. I get a migraine about once a year. And when I do, I'm out of commission for a minute. It usually takes about 6-8 hours to get it to go away. But I don't bounce back from that. Like the migraine's gone away, but I'm still hurt.
Fell asleep sometime after 6, woke back up, watched wrestling mostly. Fell asleep a couple of times in that, then went to bed and actually slept through almost the entire night. Something I don't do anymore. So when you get old, you got to pee a lot at night. I don't know why that is.
Yeah. BetMGM has completely removed Florida State's odds from the book for this weekend against Memphis.
Wow.
Because they were 1.5 point favorites at home, and the money was coming in on Memphis to cover, which means win.
Have you seen the odds for tonight?
I can find them. Let's see, Chaw. The Chiefs at home are -3. Exactly. Which means Vegas thinks this is a coin flip of a football game. And they're not wrong.
I thought it was 3.5 yesterday.
It was, but it is moved. Well, I should say that the bettors believe that it is 3.5.
3 friends in next break. So I'm going to see Beetlejuice at 5:45. I might miss like the first couple minutes of the first quarter, but I have a recording so I can skip past the commercials. And unlike other people, I will not look at my phone on my drive home. So I'll have no idea what's going on. Didn't realize when I bought the tickets.
Oh,
I forgot.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, but it's okay. Because you factor in the half hour of stinking commercials and stuff in the theater,
Yeah.
I should be good.
Courtney came to me and she said, we're going to go watch Beetlejuice Sunday with my friends at 11 o'clock. And I went, no, man, we're not. She said, why? Your game doesn't start till 1. And I was like, yeah, the movie's 2.5 hours long, I believe.
It's not, though.
It's not?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I think it's an hour and 50 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate. Going to run very quickly here through a very short version of the audio blitz. Some of the sound bites that we have found over the last couple of days that stuck out to me for one reason or the next. This one is a little bit of an older one, but we've talked a lot of baseball on the show. I'm going to keep talking baseball on the show. This is a clip from the old Sports Science show about hitting a baseball. And I want you to really listen to the numbers because you always hear hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports. But they actually went on to explain why, and I find it interesting.
The distance from the rubber to home plate is 60 feet 6 inches. Subtracting 5 or 6 feet to account for the pitcher's stride, it takes a fastball traveling at 90 to 95 miles an hour about 400 milliseconds to get from the pitcher's hand to the catcher's mitt. The batter is already at a disadvantage because it takes the human brain around 80 to 100 milliseconds just to process the image that the eyes are taking in. On top of that, it's going to take 150 milliseconds on average to get his bat around to meet the ball, and 25 milliseconds for his brain to send the signal to his body to swing. That leaves him with just 125 milliseconds to gauge the pitch and decide whether or not to go for it. To put this in perspective, it takes 300 to 400 milliseconds just to blink. If the pitch looks good, the batter has a 7 millisecond window to meet the ball in a position where he will put it in play. If he's too early or too late, the best he can hope for is a foul ball.
Is that not wild? You have to decide if to swing, where to swing, and how to swing. You have the amount of time that it takes you to blink. It is literally a decision that must be made in the blink of an eye. The blink of an eye is how long you have to decide if to swing, where to swing, and how to swing. And then if you do make the decision of if to swing, how to swing, and where to swing, you have approximately 0.07% of that blink of an eye to put the bat in the right place. Statistically speaking, it should be theoretically impossible to hit a baseball with the exception of blind luck. It should, especially considering the numbers that they used right there are for a pitch that is 90 to 95 miles an hour. Paul Skeens throws the ball 103, almost 10 full miles an hour faster than they took into account for those numbers. It should be impossible, with the exception of occasional blind luck, to hit a baseball. And the fact that Major League Baseball players can not only do it, but the best can do it a third of the time is pretty freaking spectacular. Let me give you another clip. This clip comes from Fox Sports Knox. It is a radio station, Fox Sports, out of Knoxville, Tennessee. They were discussing the SEC this past weekend, week 1 in SEC football, and they received a call. And it got a little interesting. Lonzo, as a radio guy, you live for these calls, and that's all that I need to tell you.
And they're Florida recruits.
I mean,
These guys are good.
That's why I think they'd pull the trigger pretty quickly on getting rid of Billy.
Get off the damn sports radio. It doesn't matter to your family. It's a loser situation. My dad needs your help.
Cosmo Chris.
I know you don't care. I'll take your $2.5 million.
Oh, that's a first.
My man called into a show because he just wanted to talk football. All right. Want to talk some Tennessee, want to talk some University of Florida, want to talk some SEC football, y'all. And in the background, in front of country, the wife says, get off the damn sports radio. It's a loser situation. She says, my dad needs your help. He says, I don't care. I'm done. And she says, I know you're done. I will take your $2.5 million and leave. That's the most awkward divorce threat in the history of divorce threats. That, because if that guy loves sports radio, his buds are listening to it, and the wife just dropped, not only are you a loser for listening to and participating in sports talk radio, but I will take your $2.5 million and hit the road, Jack. Woof.
Okay. How's that dude have $2 million?
What are you saying? People who are very smart and financially lucrative don't listen to sports talk radio?
Well,
are you saying none of our listeners have money?
According to her, it's a loser thing to do. So what is my dude winning in to have that much money for her to take?
I don't know. All I know is she doesn't know or give a rat's patootie that she is on the radio live putting my dude's business out there. And for the record, I want to go, oh, it's a work. I want to go, oh, she's I'm going to tell you straight up. The fact that, so in the middle, you heard the change. I had to dramatically amplify the volume because she was off in the background. This is legitimate. All right. This is legitimate because if it's acted and you want it on the radio, she's right up next to the guy's head saying it so it can be heard. She is clearly on the other side of the room, doesn't want to be anywhere near this dude. And she said, get off the damn sports radio. It's a loser situation. Ma'am, I am hurt. I am offended. I am my flabbers are gasted by your very rude comment about what I do for a living. I mean, I am a loser, but I don't need you saying it on the radio, ma'am. Oh, that's gotta sting because you know the minute that guy hung up on the loser situation of being on the damn sports radio, my guy's phone line blew up with text. The boy's going, oh, guess you can't go golfing this weekend. Guess we're not tailgating next weekend.
All right, so
woof.
Again, it's me, but I think it's a work.
It's absolutely not a work
because of the money amount. If she just said I'm leaving you, that's fine. But throwing out that much money, I don't believe it.
I want to live in your world where nothing bad ever happens.
I don't know.
Amazing.
How many people do you know who have $2 million for their disgruntled wife to take?
Here's the fun thing about people who have that much money. You don't know. That's why they have it. That's what my old man taught me growing up. The guy who has millions is the guy driving the 03 Corolla and never letting you know that he's got it. And that's how he keeps it. That's how he keeps it. That's why nobody's calling him asking for help in buying a boat.
I believe that is possible in certain situations, but I also think that people who have that much money flaunt it.
I can tell you as the 1%er I am. It's not always true. I believe that call to be real. That's woof. That's a rough call to have your life broadcasted like that on a live loser sports situation radio show. Lonzo, when I predict the AFC and NFC West next on the Fan Upstate.
Good friends.
All right, guys, one more quick live, and we're back. Stay right there for me. Glad I came back just in time to sneeze all directly into your ear holes. Sorry about that, America. That's my bad.
At least you guys weren't in danger of getting any on you.
I turned my head. I'm
Yeah,
not
I know.
I'm not a savage.
I know, but I do believe that snot can bounce. I'm just saying.
Bounce?
Yes.
You need a doctor.
Well, I didn't say my snot, did I? You know, the thing about snot is sometimes it has other stuff in it, which can bounce.
Now it's Staples. The more you print, the more you save. Up to 30% off. Plus, you save even more with hundreds of deals throughout the store. Ends 9 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Why don't you use the Sleep Number smart bed? Can I make my size?
The show is just weird sometimes.
Biggest sale of the year. Save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. JD Power 2023 award information. Visit jdpower.com/awards to find a store near you. Visit sleepnumber.com.
From the Angles Market Studio, the
Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always one from the free the Infinity Sports Network. Text us at 71307. This is the Rob Show with
All right, let's talk some National Football League as we get set for Week 1, Game 1 this evening. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, an AFC Championship game rematch from last year and potentially preview for this year. Today, we focus on the Western divisions of both the AFC and the NFC. Let us start in the NFC because, frankly, I think there is more discussion to be had there. There are some compelling storylines out of this division, in my opinion. The Arizona Cardinals. They have leaned in to Kyler Murray, but I also feel like this is Kyler Murray's last chance to prove himself. If Kyler Murray don't get it done, he is going to have to go Justin Fields somewhere else next year. Go spend a year as a backup. Go spend a year getting everything he did in Arizona out of the noggin and hopefully reprogramming himself to be better elsewhere. The LA Rams. Los Angeles has quietly put together a team that a lot of people think might be a dark horse contender for this season. Will they? Won't they? I don't know. I am very interested in that. The Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith is just a couple of seasons removed from being the NFL comeback player of the year award winner. But of course, that was under Dave Canales, now the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Geno did take a step back last year, but it was not a dramatic one. It was a minor step back, a step back nonetheless. Seattle has bought all in on what they are trying to build there under Mike McDonald. And then, of course, you have, last but not least, the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers storyline, to me, great one, is very simple. If they can't do it this year, they got to blow it up. All right? If they can't get by Mahomes and the Chiefs or whoever comes out of the AFC as the team that did, the San Francisco 49ers have to blow it up because you can't be better. And we'll start there because the 49ers are minus 200 to win the NFC West. They are not just a favorite. They are one of the two shortest favorites to win their division. It is San Francisco and it is Kansas City, the two teams we talk about today as likely divisional winners. Kansas City, and I believe this, and this is based on salary cap more than it is anything else, even with the restructuring of Trent Williams, even with the restructuring of Deebo Samuels. I do not believe that the 49ers can be better than they are this year. They got Ayuk happy with a 4-year deal. Debo restructured. McCaffrey was able to stay healthy all year last year. Kittle is hitting the point where he's kind of in his prime. And they got a fullback, a legitimate, genuine fullback. Use check. This team can't be better than it is this year. If they can't get it done this year, they can't get it done with the current iteration of players. I think they know that. And because of the fact that I think they know that, we can talk about the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. We can talk about the Rams because I really like what the Rams have built. But as far as I am concerned, San Francisco is winning this division, Lonzo, and I think they're going at worst like 13-4 to do it.
What's your projected order for the rest?
I'm going to go San Francisco 1, Los Angeles 2. I'm actually going to go Arizona 3, Seattle 4.
Okay, I'm just going to flip the Arizona and Seattle. So, but what 1 and 2 are the same. I don't understand about they need to blow it up because they can't beat Kansas City. There's no guarantee Kansas City makes it to the Super Bowl. But
or whoever does.
Yeah. In your opinion, I can tell you my opinion. San Francisco is the best team in the NFC, and they have been for a couple years now. Why would you blow up the best team in the NFC because they can't win the big one? What are you going to – there's only one change that you could possibly make that can make them better, and that's quarterback. But we've seen other people in that system not be able to run it the way that Brock Purdy does.
I don't disagree, but I also don't agree with the folks that are trying to put Brock Purdy into the elite quarterback conversation. He's not. All right.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. He is the right guy for the right system.
He is the guy that has shown that he can run the system the best. That is not to say there aren't other guys who could. I have no idea. All right. We know the guys that can't because they haven't, and we know Brock Purdy can run it. But I think that if they had a guy in there, so this is the way I phrased it. Brock Purdy is a good quarterback who can be carried to success by a great team, but not a great team that can carry a good team to success. That's how I feel about Brock Purdy. I think he's good enough if you surround him with a great team. And I do believe the San Francisco 49ers are a great team. Now, I will make one amendment to that great one. And the one amendment I would make to that is this. Maybe they can get a better quarterback to replace Brock Purdy. Maybe they can bring in a great quarterback who can lead a great team to success. Here's the problem. If they get close but no cigar, they're drafted 31, 30, 29, 28. There are no, and very rarely, if ever are there, generational rookie quarterbacks that nobody's getting drafted at QB at 20, 15 through 32 that I go, that's a guy you plug in there as a rookie. So if you're going to grab that guy, you got to go get that guy. You got to trade that guy, maybe pick him up in free agency. Here's the problem. The 49ers, because of the deal with Ayuk, because of the deal with Debo, they're under the cap, but not much. And they're going to go above the cap and have to restructure some guys again next year. I know that the one position they can't acquire a free agent for a top flight contract, which is what you'll have, is quarterback, which means you got to trade for the guy. But if you're going to trade for the guy, teams are going to want one of your big pieces for the guy because quarterbacks, when they go on the trade block, they're getting huge prices, in which case now I got to blow up the skill set I built around Brock Purdy to get Brock Purdy's replacement, in which case I don't know how much I'm gaining by switching out the signal caller. I don't know if there is a path for San Francisco to replace Brock Purdy if they do get to the point this year where they get close but no cigar, and we all come in here the day after they lose the NFC title game or the Super Bowl, whatever, and we all agree Brock Purdy was the reason why. I don't know that they can replace him.
Well, and yes, they can't do it through the draft unless they get lucky and find some late round drafts pick who fell and shouldn't have fallen or something like that.
Unless they get a Tom Brady. I mean, honestly, I know you don't want to use that as an example, but he's kind of the go-to for late round quarterbacks.
That is the prime example for sure. Or unless they somehow find the knack that Andy Reid has of finding late round players and getting a lot out of them. I don't know. All I know is the thing that bothered me the most about what you said is them blowing it up. Because then what do you have? I mean, I just I get it for salary purposes, but there's no blowing this team up. And there's also they also I don't know of any other NFC team that's going to compete with them.
if they let's say it happens again for the third time, San Francisco makes it to the Super Bowl, and for the third time, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs beat them.
Yeah, let's say that. I'm okay with us saying that.
All right, for the sake of a discussion about the 49ers and not Kansas City, let's say that happens. All right.
So
If
they're
that
just
happens,
there, but okay.
If that happens, they go to the Super Bowl, they lose to Kansas City again. How many more times are you going to run that back? It's happened 3 times, theoretically. It's happened 3 times. At some point, this is just like when colleges have coaches that hang around forever and they're legends, they're icons, but they're turning in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 4 seasons. At some point, you got to go. As much as we love it, as much as we appreciate it, as much as we want to celebrate it, at the end of the day, kind of tired of being the bridesmaid. I want to put on the pretty white dress too.
I think in every sport, there's a team that always says it would have been our time if it wasn't for that team. And this is the problem. San Francisco has gotten really good at a time when that team is on the other side, and that team is been their nemesis every time. And it happens all the time. That great boxer who comes up, beats everybody except for that one guy. That great basketball team, like the Bulls back in the day, could not get past Detroit no matter what. Finally, they did, but it took them forever to do it. In this case, in the NFL right now, if there was no Kansas City, San Francisco would probably be the Super Bowl winner
They'd
the
have
last couple
3
times. Yes.
They'd have 3.
Right.
Right? I agree with you. But again, how many times do you run into a brick wall before you go, this way don't work? And that's kind of the problem. And whether you blame it all on Mahomes or not, if Mahomes loses and let's say the Ravens beat him, the result is still the same, right? The result is you either can't get by Mahomes or the team that beat Mahomes. And if you can't win the Super Bowl with this team, and that is the objective, which it is, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point of keeping a team together if they can't get it done? And I'm going to say if they lose 3 in the last, 5 years? If they lose 3 in the last 5 years, then I'm pretty comfortable going, they, as constructed, can't get it done. Now, you could take a big risk. You could move on from Kyle Shanahan. You can move on from the head coach and go, the head coach gets us there, but he can't get it done. A lot of teams do that. Or you could take the risk and go, you know what? It's going to cost us Debo, or it's going to cost us Ayuk, or it's going to cost us Kittle, but we got to get a new QB in here and see if that can elevate us. I don't know what the move is, but I don't think there is a path to replace the quarterback that doesn't either cost you, or that doesn't, frankly, end of discussion, cost you a hell of a lot of resources to get a first-round draft pick and then ride with a rookie, which we know fails way more than it works, or go get a high-round draft pick, because that's pretty much your options at that point.
Hey, they're still not Buffalo, though.
I don't know why. I don't know what Buffalo's got to do with it.
How many years in a row Buffalo went to the Super Bowl and lost?
Oh, we're going old school Bills.
Yes.
Yeah, my buddy Jack's a Buffalo guy, and he's like 27, and even he hurts from that. Wasn't even alive yet.
Yeah.
And even he hurts for that. I get it. You know what's not going to hurt? Your ears when Lonzo reads these words for you.
That's the nicest thing you've said to me all day. Charlie Morton earned his, and you're not wrong, Charlie Morton earned his 8th win of the season with a 5-inning, 2-run, 8-strikeout performance for the Atlanta Braves in a 3-0 win over Colorado. Atlanta attempts the sweep tonight, just a half game up on the Mets for the final wild card spot. The LSU Tigers have lost starting running back John Emery Jr. for the season with a torn ACL. According to reports, Emery played in 7 games last year and started against USC last Sunday, rushing for 61 yards on 10 carries. The Tigers will rely on sophomore Caleb Jackson and senior Josh Williams, who combined just 51 yards in week 1. By the way, commas are really important. Turn in this Saturday at 4:30 as the Furman Paladins take on the Charleston Southern Buccaneers. It's Furman versus Charleston Southern right here on your home for Paladins football, The Fan, Upstate. I need more commas. Didn't have no commas in there. There's a reason I wanted to skip that one. We know of the Madden curse, Zach. We do. I don't think it always hits, though. It did for a while, but I'm not as much lately, I don't think. Mad World, next break.
Mad World, next break.
Here we go. Final hour of the Rob Brown Show starts now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob, the great one, Alonzo, with you here as we celebrate the beginning of the National Football League season. Week 1, night 1, game 1, tonight, Chiefs, Ravens, Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City, Missouri. Can't wait. Can't wait. Going to be a big night in the NFL. And BT Dubs. In case you weren't aware, you weren't paying attention, in case you didn't know. Great one. We got NFL football tonight. We got NFL football tomorrow night. We got college football Saturday night. We got NFL football Sunday night. We got NFL football Monday night. Y'all, if I may channel my inner Scott Henson for just a minute, 5 nights of nighttime football starts now. Let's go. Let's go.
What is he?
Best time of the year.
It don't start now. It don't start for another, 11 hours.
Listen, let me tell you how this day is going to go for Uncle Rob Brown. All right. Here's how this day is going to go for yours truly. When we get done here, I'm going to walk into that studio right next door. I'm going to lay down some promos, some commercials, some ads, some reads, some stuff I got to do, real stuff, adulting, I think the kids call it now. And then I'm going to walk over into the Fortress of Nerditude. I'm going to sit down in front of that computer and I'm going to load in some podcasts. I'm going to get some clips up for you. Make sure you're following us on your podcast provider of choice, Spotify, Google, Apple, iTunes, wherever it is you get your major podcasts. Make sure you go find, search out, and subscribe to The Rob Brown Show, because not only do we bring you all 4 hours of the show in their entirety at the conclusion of every show, but the majority of days, I also pull out some highlight segments and put them off to the side, and I do them express style. I even take my dramatic ass pregnant pauses out of there. So we turn 13-minute segments into like 8-minute segments. We turn 60-minute segments into like 40-minute segments, just so you can enjoy the Rob Brown Show as fast as you like on demand. All right. But I'm going to go over there.
I'm glad you finally said we, because you would have had a lot more work to do today.
Lonzo is going to put the hours in. I'm going to put the highlight segments up. We are going to provide you with all of the entertainment that you could possibly need. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to drive over. I'm going to go meet the lady friend for lunch. We're going to have a nice, lovely afternoon snack together. Then I'm going to go back to the house. I'm going to put on some shorts. I'm going to go to the gym. All right. I'm going to hit the old Peloton for about an hour, get in 20, 25 miles of biking. Then I'm going to hit the weights because your boy has dropped the LBs. But per the fiance, I have a saggy ass. So I got to hit the squat rack a little bit, try to get that excellent round lifted booty back. All right. I look good in the jacket. Now I got to look good in the pants. Got to get the seat right. And then I'm going to go from there. I'm going to go back to the house. By then, should be about 3:30 in the afternoon. Rob Brown's going to lay his adorable little head down in the bed, catch him about an hour and a half long siesta. Then at 5:30, I'm going to meet up with the lady friend again. We're going to go meet up. We're going to go to our little wine spot. Going to have a nice glass. Probably, I'm thinking maybe a little Malbec tonight. I'm in the mood for some Malbec. All right, I'm going to sip a couple glasses of red wine just to feel nice, just to feel good. Then we're going to sit in front of the big screen. She already knows what tonight is. We're going to sit in front of the big screen, and we are going to watch some NFL football. All those things that I'm doing, I do most days. All right. I do the promos, we do the podcast, I do the lunch, I do the dog walking, I do the gym going, I do the siesta-ing. I do all those things because they're just part of my day, my rhythm, my routine. You know why I'm doing them today, great one? Because when this show comes off the air, I'm going to have about 10 hours that I got to kill. I got to make them fly. And doing things makes time go by. I need the 10 hours? I need the 10 hours from when we turn off this microphone for the last time at 10 a.m. and when the NFL welcomes us into the 2024 season at 8:00 whatever it is this evening. I need that 10 hours to go by el rapido, as quickly as possible. So I'm going to be doing every dumb thing I can think of from 10 until 8 p.m. just to kill the time. The lady, she already knows. She already knows. We're doing it. We're doing our wine date because on Thursdays it's wine date night. All right. We're doing our wine. We're doing our charcuterie tonight. Getting a nice little charcuterie board. Think I'm going to lean heavy on the meat tonight. All right. Going to lean heavy on the pepperoni, the salami, the real good stuff. We're going to buy the expensive charcuterie board tonight. We're going to treat yourself because, and I have already apologized to her, the next 5 nights of my life, they're all occupied. All right. No date nights. Because we got NFL tonight, NFL tomorrow, college football Saturday, NFL Sunday, NFL Monday. I'm busy. Don't call me. Don't text. You can call me. You can text me if you're one of the circle of trust. All right. If you got Rob Brown's contact information in your phone, you may absolutely call me. You may absolutely text me. I'm not a one-trick pony. I'm a multitasker. I can watch the football game and I can text or call or Facebook or whatever you need me to do. All right. I'm a multitasker. I got to multitask all the time. I multitask every segment this show's on the air. I'm a multitasker. What you can't do is you can't text me and go, hey, Rob Brown, do you want to go do this thing on Saturday? No, I do not. Hey, Rob Brown, Sunday night, would you like to go out to this place? Sure, if they got a big screen hanging on the wall, and if you can guarantee me that big screen is going to have football on it. If the answer to that is yes, yeah, I'll go. But if it ain't to go watch the football, don't waste your breath. Don't waste your text. All right? I don't know if y'all got limited text, like you can only send 100 a month. If you can, don't send one to me. You're wasting the text because the answer is no. All right? The most important person in my life has already been told the next 5 nights, they're all football nights in America. We ain't doing nothing. Nothing at all. All right. All right, let's do this before we get to Fight Club coming up in the next segment. We have gotten some text and some tweets and some DMs and whatnot that I would like to address. Let's do that. Let's start with a DM that we got earlier today from @Carolina Spartan. We got the DM from, it's @SC Sparty. Texted the show. Said, Rob, how long until earlier we talked about the FSU defensive line, how it's, what's the word I'm looking for here? Sucks. It's real bad at football.
I was going to say rich.
Yeah, but also rich.
Yeah.
Bruce Feldman reporting that he's been told that the FSU defensive line is getting paid a cumulative $2 million to play in Tallahassee this season. And yet, they're very bad at the footballing. @SC Sparty said, Rob, how long until those FSU guys who got stacks, his emphasis, not mine, to stay opt out since the season is shot to protect their bodies for the NFL. This is why NIL is going to collapse. Money for stuff like this won't exist without a return on relevance, not from business people. What's sad is I support the players protecting their bodies. Why risk your career for a meaningless exhibition game, but they will get big-time heat, even worse than before? And that is a fantastic question. I will address it in 2 parts @SC Sparty on the X. If you want to toss him a follow, a fellow Armada member. How long until those FSU guys who got stacks to stay opt out since the season is shot to protect their bodies for the NFL? I don't know. I would not be shocked if it was now. If those guys know they're going to the league, but there's a couple of things to take into consideration here. One, and I do not know if this is accurate or correct or not, but I'm going to tell you right now, as an NIL collective, if I am drawing up NIL contracts with players, I am putting in there, if you do not play and it is not directly caused by an injury or illness, you ain't getting the NIL money. I am treating NIL money just like the NFL treats game checks. If you miss due to injury, fine, get your money. Due to illness, fine, get your money. But if you miss because of suspension or because you quit to go to the league, you're not getting the check. Now, what's to say that a guy like Pat Payton doesn't dress out, go out there, play a couple of downs, and all of a sudden, ouch, my ankle? Nothing. I can't stop him from doing that. But that leads me to point number 2, which is, this is why I've said the transfer portal should be supplemental to recruiting guys who want to be at your school. The transfer portal should be an extra resource that is added on top of your primary resource of recruiting high school kids who want to come play for you and want to come play for your school, your logo, your brand, your university. Because if you go and you build your core out of the portal, as Mike Norvell has, and those guys in the portal are all guys that are doing it just because they want to go to the show, they want to get up into the big leagues, and you go 0-2 and you're knocked out of playoff contention 2 weeks into the season, and they all go, screw that, I'm going out to Arizona to start my NFL draft combine training. Guess what? Sucks to be you, Mike Norvell. Sucks to be you. I get why. Just so we're clear, I understand why Dabo Swinney doesn't want to use the portal. I completely understand. I completely get it. I don't think it's good for him. I think he needs to use it as the supplemental deal, not the primary source of talent. But I completely understand, because what Dabo doesn't want to happen is exactly what's happening to Florida State right now. But this is why I've said every situation, every circumstance we talk about, if you look at the world through a lens of black or white, left or right, it's going to be a long, difficult life ahead of you, because the reality is everything, I don't care what the thing is, everything you can think of, every political idea or religious viewpoint or sports philosophy or regular philosophy, everything that you think of, everything you can think of, exists on a spectrum. Everything. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You can think of whatever, any philosophy you want. It exists on a spectrum. And there are some people that are way over at that end, that's Dabo Swinney, and some people that are way over at that end, and that's Mike Norvell. But the reality is, for all of those things, the best version of that thing exists somewhere in between the extremes. There are very few things that the extreme on this side or the extreme on this side are the best thing of that thing. The reality is, for most things, the premium's in the middle. It's in the middle of that spectrum. Transfer portal's no different. The Dabo Swinney end of the spectrum is not good. It's not going to work. It's proven. The Mike Norvell end of the spectrum does not work either. The reality is there's a middle ground, and it may be tilted towards one end of the spectrum or the other, but the reality is there's a middle spot somewhere that is the best version of that thing. My belief, it is using it as a supplemental resource to add on to your recruiting classes. I agree with you, SC Sparty. I don't have any issue with players who want to protect their bodies when they know they're NFL guys. But here's the other part of that conversation, and Joey B nailed it when he stepped into the stream chat and said, who could look at that FSU D-line and think any of those guys should be in the NFL? That's a reality for these guys. They put so much into playing with the portal and getting the bag and all that. I don't think they were ready for football season. And if I'm an NFL scout, it's not just about the fact that they stink on the field this year. It's also about the fact that, at least in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion, it's why they stink. I don't just know that they stink. I know why they stink. Why they stink is because they ain't got love for the game. They ain't got love for the grind, the hard work. Listen, all these guys that go in the NFL and stick around for years and they bounce team to team to team, yeah, they're doing it for a paycheck. Everybody who does a job, I do this job for a paycheck. I love this job. I love this job so much I get up at 3:15 in the morning every weekday for it. But I do it for the paycheck. If the boss came to me tomorrow and said, hey, Rob Brown, you are welcome to stay as long as you want, but we don't pay you anymore, I got to go. Same with Lonzo and Matt Man and Nine and Stone Man, everybody in this building. If they came tomorrow and said, you can do it because all of you guys love this. You can do it, but we're not paying you anymore. We would all have to go somewhere else. Same with football players, college and pro. But you at least got to show me that you don't mind the grind. If you're not grinding for the team, for the logo, for the brand, for the love of the game, if you're only grinding for the money, at least show me that you'll grind for the money. I look at the guys playing for Florida State right now. I don't even see that they're willing to grind for the money. They are averaging, every one of those defensive linemen is averaging $500,000 to play football this year, and they're not willing to grind for it. They are hurting themselves in the NFL. They are hurting themselves. Let's see. Texture said it's going to get worse at Florida State when these potential draft picks freelance to showcase individual talent. That is part of the problem. It's part of the problem. How many of these guys, I wonder, I'm not saying there are, I don't know. I've watched the game back a couple of times. I don't think it's the case. But how many of these guys might go out there and go, coach called a twist. He caught a twist between the two defensive tackles, and I'm supposed to be the guy running the upfront twist. That means I can't get the sack. I am intentionally running into a double team so that the other tackle can twist around me and hopefully come open. I'm not doing that because I need stats. I need sacks. I need to prove to guys that I'm worth the top tier draft pick. I ain't doing a twist. I'm going to look at my boy and go, hey, I'm not twisting. You do whatever you want, but I'm not doing that. I'm going to get the quarterback. Maybe. But again, that's on the head coach. It's on the head coach when he brings these guys in to be part of the team. It's on the head coach to make sure that he is doing whatever he needs to do to make sure he does not end up with that player. You are making, as the head coach of a Power 4 university, $7, $8, $9, $10, $11, $12, $13 million a year. I don't care if your job's hard. I don't care. Oh, your job's hard. I don't care, Billy Napier. I don't care, Dabo Swinney. I don't care, Shane Beamer. I don't care, Mike Norvell. You are getting paid a dream amount of money to do the job. Yeah, it's going to be hard. There's no easy jobs that pay $11 million a year. None. Not a one. Nowhere. You're never going to find an easy job for $11 million a year. That's part of your job. Do it or get the hell out and move for someone who will. It's not that complicated or that difficult. Do the job you're getting paid an ass load of money to do, or get out of the way and we will find someone who freaking will. That's part of the gig, man. Get it or get out. It's real simple. It is real simple. Let's take a break. When we come back, it's Thursday. You know what that means. Fight Club with the great Lonzo. We talk a little pro wrestling and maybe some boxing, MMA. We'll find out when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, live reading. We're back. Stay right there for me, please, and thank you.
She may do nothing now, Wesley, but she did something at some point. Whatever something may be.
Shall remain commentary free. How does Jalen Hurts prove struggles are behind him? I don't know. Go play good.
I'm guessing that will probably help. Maybe.
Like,
I'm seriously considering adding "Say His Name and He Appears" to my Fight Club intro.
I'm here for it.
Wesley, that was so last hour. Moving on to this hour. And we're not revisiting last hour, although you can if you want to go back on the stream or on the Odyssey app or our website. Not trying to challenge him, but that's the only time Rob truly has gotten me.
That one was good. That was one of my better ones so
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
I was real proud of that one.
It just reminds me when I used to hide underneath the window when Ann Robards would do news, and I would jump out in the middle of her doing news. I got her so many times, I thought for sure I was going to get in trouble. I never did. I think the statute of limitations is up, so I should be all right. Proof that even when someone feels like Mike Tyson has hit them in the head, even though he's 58 now or whatever, a bunch of times, that we soldier forward and do what we do. We got, again, another pay-per-view. This is like 3 weeks in a row that there's either a pay-per-view or a PLE happening. And this Saturday or Sunday or sometime during the weekend, it's on the 7th. That would be Saturday. AEW All Out is happening. But before we get to that, I just got two quick WWE notes. One is since Rob was patting himself on the back so much today, I got one for me. Damian Priest sat right over there, and I asked him about an acting career, and he just kind of played it off a little bit. According to Damian Priest, he was going to be Prince Namor.
I saw that.
He was going to be in Black Panther 2, but Vince McMahon said no.
Just one more terrible decision from a terrible person.
And I got to tell you, he would have been good in that role.
He'd have been perfect in that role. And no disrespect to the guy that ended up playing Namor.
Whatever that guy's name is.
Yeah, with all due respect to that guy.
Guy who is not Damian Priest.
He would have looked like a badass as that. When Namor was, again, all due respect, but when Namor was like the same size and height as T'Challa's sister, fighting T'Challa's sister, it was if she would have had to go up against a guy who looked like and was played by Damian Priest, that would have been so much more, I'll use the word captivating. But yeah, that's a bad decision. Why would you not want to play? And I get it probably at the time, because at the time, Damian wasn't who he is today, right? He was the Archer of Infamy, NXT caliber Damian. So he wasn't like the biggest star. I would almost guarantee you if they approached today with that, it's 100% a yes.
Yeah, but under this regime, for sure he would get.
I think even if that jackass was still in charge, I think even he would have had to say yes. Do you want arguably one of your top 2 or 3 stars right now in the biggest movie franchise in the world? And oh, by the way, with for fact opportunities for more of that role down the line in the biggest movie franchise in the world. The fact that they didn't say yes, even if he wasn't one of their primary superstars, is frankly silly.
You know what it is? It's bad business. And that's one thing. I mean, Vince McMahon, not a good person, but business wise, he made some pretty good decisions. That's a bad business decision.
Yeah, he made a lot of bad ones too, though. I mean, let's not skirt on those. And I get it. Nobody is going to bat 1,000 when it comes to making business decisions, for sure. I know that better than anybody. But yes, to say no to putting even a fringe star or maybe even at the time jobber into a role to look like a total badass in the biggest movie franchise in the game, I don't get that.
By the way, speaking of Vince McMahon, although I don't think he gets the money from this, if you just happen to have enough money, the original Titan Towers is for sale.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they were still there.
No, apparently not, because it's for sale. It's all over the internet, so it's got to be true.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So if
Vince gonna have some bills to pay for a while.
Well, I mean, he sold all his shares for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Let's get to AEW All Out and some pretty good matches. Starting with this, depending on what you think of Daniel Garcia versus MJF.
For the record, I love how they have set this up. I don't care. I thought that showing from Daniel Garcia and the way that he came out and got involved but did not overly ruin the match with Will Ospreay was good enough to intrigue me in this match. MJF.
Yeah, MJF. I agree.
Now that's not to say you won't get Daniel Garcia over in the long term, but I think you're going to see full Maxwell Jacob Freeman in this one, and then Daniel will get over later. Also, as you pointed out, not a big Daniel Garcia fan. It's not for the gimmick, because I actually think the gimmick can work. He just doesn't do it for me. I put him with not Jungle Boy.
All right, so I'm just going to go in the order of the things that I have here.
Sure.
And there's no reason why this would be where it is, especially after what we saw last night. A steel cage lights out match, Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Page. Hangman Page, by the way, has now memed himself forever. Have you seen if you probably saw the video of him catching Swerve's house on fire, but the meme of him sitting out in front of it,
it's great.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be used for so many different things. What I don't like Hangman on Page. At least I didn't. Rob and I have had this.
You don't like face Hangman Adam Page.
No, I didn't like Millennial Cowboy.
That's the face.
Yeah. I like guy who could be in a Rockstar game. I like a guy who, and probably will be if he's lucky. They're already putting posters up of him in Red Dead.
Yeah.
Sort of things. It looks really good. I like this guy I like, and I like that he's distanced himself from the elite and he's just this guy on his own. But who's the heel and who's the face here?
Oh, Swerve's the face. They're both. I mean, Hangman's a clear heel. Swerve's definitely a tweener.
Yeah,
but in
Swerve,
this role, he's the face.
Swerve went to Hangman's house first.
Yeah, no, I know. He's definitely a tweener.
And said multiple times he went to his house.
Yep. This is the thing. This is kind of one of those things that sometimes you got to book long term. And I think this is a great spot for Hangman to go, hey, you did this first. You started this war. You were the first one because he didn't just go to his house. He stood over his child's crib and made threats.
And then he said a couple of weeks ago, he went there and watched him take his wife to the hospital to have his second child.
Yeah.
So that's saying, hey, not only have I been in your house, but I've been there multiple times.
Like, to me, Swerve's going to be painted as a face, but I think it's fair to say Hangman Adam Page is the face because Swerve started all this. I'm going to go with Hangman to win the match. I'm also going to go Millennial Cowboy Adams is the best. He's the best because I do think it is important for people to recognize that it's okay to not be okay and go seek help. And that was the whole point of that character. I think it is important to recognize that even tough guys sometimes need somebody to talk to. It's great.
That was not the whole point of the character. You and I and Joe, by the way, were in Colombia when they came out. What was it, a Prius?
It was a Prius.
When they came out in a Prius.
What's wrong with caring about the environment? Nothing.
That has nothing to do with self-help.
Nothing.
And I still don't know how Luchasaurus got in there.
The whole premise is that it is okay to not conform to traditional macho roles. You can still be a cowboy because sometimes when it's time, as long as you're willing to answer the bell, who cares if you're a conservationist, care about the environment, and believe in therapy? Those are good things.
This public service announcement brought to you by Rob Brown. Now let's continue with the show. Chicago Street Fight.
Can I be the Millennial Cowboy now since he's not?
You've never not been. Willow Nightingale versus friend of the show, Chris Statlander. Chicago Street Fight. I really like Willow Nightingale. I'm very disappointed we didn't get to interview. Although we did get Orange Cassidy, so I'm glad with that.
Cassidy.
But I still want to interview Will Nightingale. Chris Statlander, by the way, awesome interview.
Phenomenal. She was great.
We haven't really had any bad interviews.
I've only had one. I'm not going to say him by name because I do think it was a bad spot.
I want to point out I said we.
Oh, fair. This one was one that unfortunately was at a time where Lonzo couldn't be here. I've had one bad interview. I never aired it because it made this guy, and he is a genuine bona fide Hall of Famer. Not like a guy where genuine bona fide all-time icon legend Hall of Famer.
You were very upset.
I was devastated because it was a bleep interview. I've never aired it, and I've never named him because I'm gonna give the guy, if I ever get the chance, an opportunity to redeem himself, because I've also heard no negative stories about the guy except my own. Stat was great.
See, and I've heard a ton of negative stories, and I was not surprised by him doing what he did. All right, different circles. So you said Stat wins?
I'm gonna go Stat.
Okay, I'm going Nightingale. Okay, we finally differ on something. All right. By the way, Joe says the Prius is surprisingly roomy. Toyota should have had that in a commercial. I agree.
I want with no context applied to it, a Prius commercial where a Prius drives into frame, the door opens, Luchasaurus gets out, waves, and leaves, and then that's just the end of the commercial with the words, "This guy fits, so can you."
Yeah.
And that's the context of the commercial.
Yeah. All right. A&W.
I believe in you.
It's root beer. It's really good. AEW World Tag Team Championship match. The Young Bucks versus Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. If you watched last night, they jumped the Blackpool Combat Club, and Claudio had some things to say, which I really, really liked. But Young Bucks are going to win this.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I do think there is a spot down the line for the BCC to win this thing, but we kind of got to point out, like with a couple of recent Mox promos, like
he did another one last night.
Did he? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so he's not with the BCC.
No, he's
anymore.
not. And if you take Mox away from that, and you take Bryan Danielson, which is very close, you're taking him away from it. All you have left is Claudio and Wheeler.
Yeah, but they've added Pac.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. As much as I love Pac, and we're going to talk about him in a minute, I assume, the BCC is not really a thing to me anymore.
It's not. All right, the next match, AEW TBS Championship match between Hikaru Shida, still my favorite women's wrestler in AEW, always has been. Loved it. She always has an homage to anime or to a video game, and she did that again last night. Versus a waste of space in Mercedes Moné. By the way, Camille is banned from ringside.
I got to tell you, as excited as I was, because it did feel like a win, if a minor one, for AEW to get the artist formerly known as Sasha Banks, now Mercedes Moné. Felt like it was a win, and I just had to me, Britt Baker carried that rivalry leading up to the pay-per-view at Wembley. You got to, but Mercedes is going to get her opportunity. She didn't sign this contract to show up, win one feud, and drop it in the next. She hasn't been great since she got here, but she's also not dropping the belt here.
Right. It's surprising. Me, you, and Joe all agree on this. I don't think we normally all three agree on something wrestling. That she's not good. It's just it's just not. It's
she is.
She comes on and I'm just like, let me give it a second. Now I need to fast forward past this.
For the record, when she was in WWE, Sasha Banks, I thought it was great because it didn't feel forced. Right. This whole I got to be the CEO thing. It feels like it's pigeonhole her. And so when you pigeonhole somebody into a gimmick, then they got to try to fight their way out of it, which is what she's doing. And it does not come across naturally.
All right. 2 more matches real quick. AEW International Championship match between Will Ospreay and Pac, who we mentioned earlier. Again, Will Ospreay, the best wrestler in wrestling right now. Pac is amazing.
He is.
I've seen him live when he was with WWE and the heights that he was able to get then. It's like a human should not be able to do that.
Keep in mind, a guy who came up and they wanted to put him in a cape and have him do a dumbass superhero gimmick, and he still survived that.
Yeah, he was and still is very good. The problem is he cannot stay healthy.
Yep.
But I think you got to go Will Ospreay here.
Oh, without a doubt. He didn't win. Again, another guy that he didn't win that feud with MJF to turn around and drop the belt in the next feud. I will tell you who wins this match. us, great
Yes,
one, because
yes.
this is going to, as the kids say, slap.
All right. And finally, AEW World Championship match between Bryan Danielson and Jack Perry. Bryan Danielson still stipulation. If he loses, he's retiring. And so he's going to probably have a year long of this. He's not going to lose to Jack Perry unless he loses by disqualification. And I don't know. Does a disqualification loss means he'd still retire?
I mean, I'd say a loss is a loss, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
I think
true.
I think you do it that way.
What about a no contest?
I mean, that's not a loss, but
Right.
how do you?
It's not a win either.
How do you do that, right? Like, how do you do that? And I would go one step further and say, I would go one step further and say, if Danielson drops the belt, takes an L, he's gone. That being said, Bryan Danielson is, in my opinion, the most important wrestler on the roster. He's more important than Jericho. He's more important than the Young Bucks. He's more important than Kenny Omega. As much as I think Kenny Omega is one of the two best wrestlers in the world, he's more important than all of them from what he did when he came over. He was the one that when he came over, you're like, oh, this company's legitimate. This company's got a chance. And we're still fighting, but this company's got a chance. He is going to have a retirement on par with what they did for Sting. You're going to know the match that he is going to drop the belt and the career, and it ain't against freaking Jack Perry.
Yeah, it's going to be either Ospreay or a returning Kenny Omega.
Yep.
Or maybe John Moxley, something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be somebody. It is going to headline a massive pay-per-view, and they're basically going to tell you this is the match he retires on without telling you this is the match he retires on, because he is, again, in my opinion, the most important wrestler to ever join the ranks of AEW.
If anybody out there wants to help start a GoFundMe so we can buy Titan Towers, I mean, we're in.
Yeah, I'll tell you what right now.
I got like $15 right now.
We
probably
can
add some more
both-
later.
We can both move to Connecticut and do the show from there every day. All right, we'll figure it out.
I probably would move to Connecticut for that. Yes.
To live in Titan Tower. That'd be awesome. Hey, that's it for this segment of the show. When we come back, I got a couple more bits of sound I want to play for you. I'm going to tell you about an interesting little poll that came out by The Athletic. And then I'm going to play you what a legitimate Cajun accent sounds like for no other reason than I want to. He's Lenzo. I'm Rob. It's the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate.
I'm curious if that would be a copyright strike.
No, I doubt.
No, I
mean, I guess it could be.
Dude, I want to find out.
But
I think it's worth the risk. I mean, because it's a commercial. You don't know where your boundaries are until you test them. That's all I'm saying. Unless it's an electric fence, you probably shouldn't test that. Morton. If you are one of them youngins who says Morton and stuff like that, do better.
Morton.
Good one, Steven. And you're absolutely correct. Yeah, but if I recall, I think didn't John Moxley look at him last night and go, "You're a good kid"? I don't know what that means, but
I honestly don't. As much as I think it would be an incredible match. I don't think Mox is the guy that retires him. He is going to go up against somebody who is either is the future.
So you think passing of the torch?
Yes. Bryan Danielson's an old school wrestler. He's going out on his back to somebody who needs the rub, not just to a guy.
Sting didn't. And the other thing is,
I don't disagree, but let's be real. Sting did it differently than Undertaker and everybody else.
But
and I think that was AEW's mandate, not Sting's choice.
I don't think that Bryan Danielson has a torch to pass anymore.
I disagree entirely.
No, because I think he's been surpassed by Will Ospreay.
That doesn't mean he lost his legacy as Bryan Danielson. You can still have Undertaker was years past his torch when he retired.
Who'd he pass it to?
I mean, really, he should have walked it off with Bork. It should have been 30. He should have left the boots in the ring and never come back. Or not come back in that role. Not come back as an active wrestler. The Athletic polled their readers as NFL fans and asked them to answer one simple question. Are you optimistic or pessimistic about your team's chances heading into the 2024 season? The results to me are, to be honest, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Lonzo, let's play the at-home quiz version of the Rob Brown Radio Show. Let's start at the top. Who is the fan base, according to the Athletics poll of their readers nationwide, who is the most optimistic fan base about their team's chances in 2024?
I would jokingly say the Dallas Cowboys, but I'm not going to say that.
Because you'd be very wrong.
Because I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs.
That is incorrect. They are second on the list.
But by the way,
and I will tell you before you guess, it's not San Francisco either.
I'm a little concerned about Kansas City because no one's three-peated ever before.
Never.
That would kind of make your optimism go down. But if any team was going to do it, they have a shot. Okay, the most optimistic, Buffalo?
No. No.
All right, I don't know.
The Detroit Lions.
Okay. All right. I get that. And after all the years of everything they've had to go through, and then they've steadily gotten better. And last year was so good. I get why they'd be optimistic.
According to The Athletic, 98.8% of fans of the Detroit Lions who responded to this, 98.8% said they are optimistic about their team's chances. Kansas City second, only a tenth of a percentage behind at 98.7%. The Chicago Bears are third at 97.6%. And for the record, I agree with them.
Yeah, and I don't. Come on, people.
Green Bay is, I can't wait till we get to the end of the season and I'm right about the Bears.
Dude, we might be 3 games in and you may say, I'm sorry, Lonzo, you were right.
Nope, not at all. Packers aren't going worse than 2-1 in their first 3.
No, Bears.
I mean Bears.
You're probably right. You're probably right about Green Bay.
Nah, Green Bay 97.1. Houston is 5th at 96.4%. The next Cincinnati, LA Rams, Philly, Jacksonville at 89.5% of their fans saying they're optimistic, and the Atlanta Falcons round out the top 10. Great one. Who is the least optimistic fan base in the NFL this year?
Miss my window. By the time I find it, it's going to be way too late. I'm operating too slow. I would, first of all, I think I was told earlier in the week, that I'm too optimistic. I think you could be optimistic and not realistic.
For sure.
I'm going to go with Jacksonville is the most.
I just told you Jacksonville's in the top 10.
Yeah, the most unreal. I thought you asked who was the most unrealistic.
Which fan base is most optimistic, or in this case, least optimistic, most pessimistic about their 2024 team?
Most pessimistic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I should have actually listened.
Yep. It's okay.
It's
most people don't.
It's difficult sometimes because I'm fighting off a migraine. I usually pay close attention. It's got to be either the Panthers or the New England Patriots.
Carolina is the 6th least optimistic.
So I'm going to go with Patriots.
Is the 4th.
Wow.
There are 3 teams more pessimistic about their 2024 team than the New England Patriots, who are going to be the worst team in the league.
The Jets.
They are not. They are actually right in the middle with 73%.
I'm just trying to think of that fan base who's never believes their team's going to do anything. Really? Okay.
The most pessimistic team in the National Football League, based on a survey of readers and listeners of The Athletic, is that our New Orleans Saints, with 16% of their fan base saying they're optimistic about their chances, 84% of their fans saying they are pessimistic coming into 2024. And let me tell you, yeah, I'm on the red side of this equation, not the green side. Yeah, we're going to stink.
I think there was no doubt in anyone's mind where you stood.
Yeah, we're going to stink. And you'll find out how much I think we're going to stink tomorrow, because tomorrow we finish up our divisional preview series when we do the NFC and AFC South.
Oh, can't wait for that.
Second most pessimistic team in the NFL, the New York Giants are second. The Dallas Cowboys are the third most pessimistic team in the National Football League this year.
How is that even possible? I mean, so
I'm actually a little shocked by this.
Cowboys fans poor mouth their team and don't think they're going to be any good.
I mean, they don't, but that doesn't mean that what they say, trash talk, is what they exactly believe. New England 4th, Cleveland 5th, Carolina 6th, the Raiders 7th, Pittsburgh 8th, Minnesota 9th, and the Buffalo Bills, the 10th most pessimistic team in the NFL. Only 60% of their fans say they are optimistic of the season. Minnesota down, it is 42% or less optimistic. Buffalo up 60% or more. And then there's Tennessee, who is 69% nice pessimist or optimistic about their team. Hey, real quick, before we get to what the X is going on, our buddy Michael Pius, and I am happy to do it, wants to let you all know that their 2024 summer golf trip raffle is open right now until 5 o'clock this afternoon. You can go to firstteeupstate.org and buy your raffle tickets. That includes, if you win the grand prize, the golf trip of a lifetime with your favorite foursome, TPC Sawgrass Stadium and Dyes Valley Course, which I got to go to the Valley Course and play it when I was down in St. Augustine. Oh my God, y'all, it's incredible. So go to firstteeupstate.org. It is $100 per ticket. They are selling only 300 of them. And if you win the grand prize, 2 rounds of golf for 4 golfers at the TPC Sawgrass Stadium and Dyes Valley Course, a 2-night stay at the Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa, including 2 rooms for 2 people in each room. It's a trip valued over $5,000. Go to firstteeupstate.org to buy your ticket. Win that, and most importantly, help the golfing youth of the Upstate, because this program, the First Tee of the Upstate, is incredible.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
All right.
Oh, boy, they want them without guarantee.
Well, you could have warned me. I'd have dropped the music.
Well, that was
so
no
you could
fun.
Play that.
Why would that be fun?
Yeah, well, because you'd been able to hear them better. That's all. All right. The first thing that is Xing is Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton Xing. It is because Beetlejuice 2 comes out tonight?
No, actually. Well, it does.
Comes out tonight.
It does come out tonight. That's not why he's Xing. Did you know Michael Keaton is not his real name?
Well, I'm going to be real with you. I assume most A-listers don't use it.
He wants to start using his real name. His last name is actually Douglas.
Michael Douglas.
And because of SAG rules, you can't use the same name of someone who's already,
because there is obviously a very famous Michael Douglas.
Yeah, so he would like to go start using Michael Keaton Douglas.
I mean, listen, if John Cougar Mellencamp / John Cougar / John Mellencamp / Cougar Mellencamp got away with 97 names.
You skipped one. He went with just Mellencamp.
Oh, he did go with just Mellencamp. Yeah. If John / Cougar / Mellencamp / John Cougar / Cougar Mellencamp / John Cougar Mellencamp can get away with using 90, then Batman / Beetlejuice can call himself whatever the hell he wants.
I mean, that's cool that he wants to do that now, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right. The next thing it's Xing is Court of Owls.
Court of Owls. I know that there is a reason for this. I'm assuming it is video game related, though I don't know for certain.
All right. So Matt Reeves has come out and said the script is almost done for The Batman Part 2. And he said it will delve even more into conspiracy and things like that. So the internet community, which is always right, believes Court of Owls will be what they go with, and it kind of makes sense.
It does make sense, and I will also say that the entire Court of Owls concept was one of my favorite comic book arcs that only the deep dive nerds know. It was a phenomenal arc, phenomenal spin-offs here and there, and it's like only the hardcore dorks know about it.
Yeah, I want to see them do that. One of the best parts about the Batman, even though he was a little too optimistic at the end, was the detective thing, which is what they wanted to do. And also, it was a really good depiction of Catwoman. The next thing that's Xing is Caitlin.
Caitlin? Just Caitlin?
I didn't want to. Isn't she like on first name basis now? Caitlin Clark.
Oh!
Why do you gotta say the rest? Oh, you're thinking of that.
My head's in the comic book still.
Okay.
My head's in the comic books.
yeah.
I'm like, who? Which one's Caitlin? Caitlin Clark last night recorded her second triple-double. You know who? The rookies. Here's the list of rookies with 2 triple-doubles in a season. You ready for the list? Caitlin Clark. That's the list. People, the WNBA MVP vote, it's not a vote. It's not a contest. It's not a competition. All due respect to all the other rooks in the league, but Caitlin Clark is it. Now, she is not the MVP. That's Asia Wilson, who is a gangsta. Dropped another 41 burger the other day as the Aces keep going. But here's my thing. Not only is Caitlin Clark putting it down, the first rookie with a pair of triple-doubles in the league, but on top of that, you remember that? Remember back at the beginning of the year when the Indiana Fever were 1-8, and so many of y'all were going, "That's it, told you she's cooked." Now that the competition levels up, and I said, "Whoa, hold your damn horses for just a second." Whoa. Because Caitlin Clark's still real good. Yeah, they're now plus 500, and the Indiana Fever have locked in a playoff spot, ladies and gentlemen. Caitlin Clark is gonna be the GOAT. Book it.
One last one really quick. Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry's gonna play tonight. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I need you to go in your house before this game kicks off, and I need you to strap everything loose in your house to the floor, because when Derrick Henry and Chris Jones hit each other for the first time, it's gonna be an earthquake on the Richter scale, the width of the nation. I can't wait. This is gonna be so much fun, y'all.
Big meaty men slapping
meat,
yeah,
baby.
Yeah.
That's it for us. Y'all enjoy the game tonight. We'll break it down, preview the Green Bay Philly game, and pick our NFC and AFC South Division winners tomorrow when the Rob Brown Show returns from 6 till 10 a.m. right here on the Fan Up State. Later.
I really don't give a
That rested the Fever real good. Not making the Olympic team, as much as I still think it was the wrong decision, not making the Olympic team might go down as the best thing that happens in Caitlin Clark's career. She's unbelievable. She's unbelievable. Keegan said, best athlete to come from the state of South Carolina, Asia Wilson. Is that fair? That might be fair, honestly. That might be fair.
I don't know. There's some pretty good athletes.
I don't disagree. But in terms of athleticism and success, who's better than Asia Wilson? I got a hard time saying no. That's a good list. Or a good top of the list.
Isn't Shannon Sharp and Sterling Sharp from South Carolina, I believe? Also, friend of the show, Paul White.
Well,
yeah, there's Kevin Garnett.
He is from Glenville, Georgia, but played at South Carolina.
Okay. I was thinking.
I'll give him to you as on the list.
It's all right. It's all right.
Kevin Garnett's on the list. We did this at one point. I know we did.
Clowney.
Jadavion's on the list.
I probably would pick Asia Wilson over Clowney because she's more versatile, I suppose.
Let's see here. Stephon Gilmore, Alshon Jeffrey, Jadeveon Clowney, Sheldon Brown, Shoeless Joe Jackson, AJ Green, Josh Norman, DeAndre Hopkins. That's in there. Mason Rudolph. It's over. That's it. It's over. It's Mason Rudolph. Answered it. You know what? I think Debo might have to be it. I think Debo might be it. Because Debo does everything.
I don't know if you noticed, but a good portion of those guys you're naming all went to South Carolina.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm willing to add to the list athletes who played their college sports at Clemson and South Carolina. South Carolina's got the Ja Morant is on that list for sure. Gigi Jackson, he ain't there yet. Dutch Mantell is from South Carolina?
Yes. We only know him from later iterations. He was actually pretty ruthless.
The best iteration.
Yeah.
Hey, you ready for well, it's news that's fun for me. Because I like to share the successes of the places that I work. The BetQL network has changed its lineup. Obviously, we got some names that are coming in, whatever. Got a couple of guys that have been on gambling television shows that have joined in. Joining BetQL weekends, Lonzo, former NFL wide receiver Brandon Marshall will will host the show on Sundays, as will former NFL.com reporter Jason LaConfora is now a BetQL alum as well.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool. That is really cool. I'm pretty proud of that. I mean, just a couple of nationally recognized names that are, they're my coworkers now. No big deal. No big deal.
Well, so was Mark Ryan, who's also a national host on the weekends. But, you can throw him in there.
All right, guys and gals, I got stuff to do. And by stuff to do, I mean 10 and a half hours to kill until it's time to watch some gosh darned football. So thank you all for being here. You're all amazing people. Heart hands emoji. Have a lovely rest of your Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow. We will preview the NFC and AFC South. We will give you our playoff threats, our Super Bowl champion selections tomorrow. Rashad Beard will join us at 8:40 to break down the Cats. And then I've got next week will be my last full week of broadcasting until October. So
when he says his, he means our.
You can do the show if you want.
Anyway.
Y'all be good. Thanks for being here. Love you long time. Mean it. Bye.